welcome you into Sportstime with Wolo and Stats. Dave on the road today with the Tigers. Drew on the diamond today at the softball fields covering Tigers softball. So you've got me until 6 o'clock. Carl Morse ably producing, and we will be with you until 6 o'clock to close out this week and close out this month of February on this 28th of February 2020. Tomorrow, Leap Day. I'm so glad it fell on a Saturday. The dumbest thing ever is when we have a leap day and have an extra day of work. Tomorrow we'll have a Saturday. Heard Eli Savoy proposing holiday, very much in the style of St. Patrick's Day. Just make it festive tomorrow. I'm going to make it festive. Got a basketball game tonight. I'll be at FedEx Forum for the Grizzlies, back home for the first time in a long time. It feels like forever between the break and the long road trip. Tonight against Sacramento, I'm going to Oxford tomorrow at noon for the battle between 13 and 14 in the SEC, between Ole Miss and Vanderbilt, maybe 12 with the tiebreaker over Georgia. It might be 12 versus 14 technically. Tomorrow at noon in Oxford, we'll have all that action right here starting at 11:30 with Ole Miss pregame tomorrow, and a full day of Ole Miss sports here tomorrow. Ole Miss baseball will be right after men's basketball tomorrow when the Rebels face East Carolina, already a winner today over High Point. Sunday afternoon, Ole Miss and Indiana against the Hoosiers. Kyle Schwarber's alma mater. That starts at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Ole Miss baseball on Sunday against IU against the Hoosiers. And then tomorrow night, he's in town, he being LeBron James, and there will be a lot of Lakers jerseys there. I fully understand it. I get it. That's fine. He's that big a star. But I think whenever his career ends, and I hope it's a long time from now, not wishing any ill will against anyone, I think when LeBron James retires, that will be the end of the out-of-town superstar mania to that level. Yeah, there will be the occasional jersey for this player and that star and the Giannis and the James Harden and yeah, that's fine, and that's fine too. But en masse, all but taking over the building, I think tomorrow night, Carl, will end it, or whenever LeBron James is done, will end it with the out-of-town superstar. You tell me, do you think somebody else taps into it and they come out and support that person like that? Could it be Zion?
Possibly.
Yeah, Zion could be possible.
But with us having Ja Morant now and the way he's playing,
that stems that.
Yeah.
Because they're naturally competitors, both same draft, 1 and 2, going for the same thing, same conference, same neck of the woods with I-55, the only thing really separating the Pels and the Grizzlies. So I don't know it'll be quite that mania for Zion as a Pel, as a member of the Pelicans. You let him get traded to big market, Lakers, Bulls.
Then he will most definitely have it. But I still understand what you're saying. I still don't think it'll be big as LeBron's. LeBron will be the last one.
I don't either. I think this is the last one, and I haven't minded it through the years. I know some, and tomorrow night you'll see.
Very much, because you know I'm a Laker fan.
Yeah, that's right. You'll see cat calls at the Lakers as the fakers. The Lakers have always drawn like this, and they've always been that big a star wherever they go, especially to, and I don't know if we're newer, but in the early days, especially at the Pyramid when they were bringing in Shaq and
I went to a lot of those games back in the day.
Oh, yeah. It was appointment games. So you grew up as a Laker fan. How old are you, Carl? Do you mind telling me?
I'm 27.
Okay, so the Grizzlies have been in town 19 years of your life.
I remember when they got here.
But you got established even before that with Lakers blood in you.
The first championship.
Okay. And
Kobe
see,
and Shaq's first championship.
And for me, it was easy to distance myself from my childhood team, my 8-year-old team. It was the Knicks. But they had hit such tough times. Well, they'd been in the finals in '99 and had been decent with Patrick Ewing, but they weren't that good. And they only come one time a year.
It's just the fact it's New York.
Well, I loved Willis Reed. I loved Earl the Pearl. I loved Clyde Frazier. I loved Senator Bill Bradley. I love those early '70s Knicks teams, and that kind of when that sports brain starts getting formed. And I had the grooviest, I mean the coolest New York Knick leather gym bag. If I could find that thing somewhere out there, if I could find it, it was really neat. So it wasn't hard for me, and I was so glad, and have kind of had this euphoria, this honeymoon aspect to my Grizzlies fandom, air quotes here. I was just so glad for Memphis to finally be in the major leagues. We'd been in all the good and bad and really crummy and not so good leagues, in minor leagues, professional, but not major league. And to finally have Memphis in the major leagues, I was so glad to finally have that for a long time, and I'm not so sure it's that far off the pecking order now, my favorite moment in Grizzlies history was the first home game of finally we're in the major leagues. Now, the playoff runs, and for sure the 8-1 in 2011 in the Western Conference.
That's my favorite moment.
In 2013, yeah, that sure zoomed way up there.
At that time, it was great for me because, like, I'm a diehard Tigers fan, and at the same time, both teams were doing well.
And can do well. And I know they were talking about at the end of John Harden's show in the Sports 56 Happy Hour this weekend in Hoop City. And I want people to tell me at 67129 at the First Bank text line, what's the Hoop City record when we towed it up late Saturday night? After the Tigers play at Tulane, after the Grizzlies host the Lakers, and after the Grizzlies play the Sacramento Kings, the Kings are in the eighth and final playoff mix. There is as much in the mix as the Grizzlies in Portland and New Orleans and San Antonio.
I say my predictions: Tigers over Kings. I mean, not Tigers over Kings. Grizzlies over Kings.
Okay, that's 1-0.
Tigers over Tulane.
2-0.
But the Tigers will. I mean, not the Tigers.
You're not going for the clean sweep, are you?
I'm not going for the clean sweep. The Grizzlies will lose to the Lakers tomorrow.
I think 2-1 is about the most optimistic somebody out there can be. But we'll see. We'll see if there's a 3-0. We'll see if there's somebody. There's always one of those out there that's a 0-3. 1-2 combination for sure is real.
I hope the Tigers don't let me down. I believe in them. I do not believe they'll let me down.
There's almost nothing in Tiger basketball history as much a sure thing is playing Tulane anywhere, and especially at Tulane. In the 21st century, the Tigers have lost 2 times at Tulane. 2 times. In the 2015-16 season, 94-87 in overtime, and they lost in 2000.
What year was that again?
In 2015-2016. I'm sorry, 2015-2016 loss by 7 in overtime to Tulane, and have the only other time to lose to them down there at Fogelman Arena on the campus of Tulane was in 2001. In the 2000-2001 season, it was the 0-1 portion of the schedule. No, I'm sorry, in 99-2000. They lost by 1. So they lost in the calendar year 2000 by 1 and lost in the calendar year 2016 by 7 in overtime. It is about as sure a bet as anything. Hadn't lost many times at home to Tulane. All time the series is 55-11. First played in 76-77. One of the surest thing in all of sports. The 2 times they did lose, and I can remember the reaction here both times, it's not a pleasant one when the Tigers lose to Tulane anywhere.
I don't think it's very pleasant. The Tigers should not lose to Tulane.
They should not. No line out yet. The college basketball line's nothing like college football. It's about a day out, and usually by the time we leave here at 6:00 on Friday, we get the various college basketball lines for tomorrow. Interesting day tomorrow in the AAC. UConn at East Carolina. I think East Carolina is going to be pretty good next year. They're kind of playing out the string this year, though. But UConn tomorrow, that would factor in with the unlikely upset of a Tulane upset over the Tigers. UConn right behind the Tigers in the standing. That's tomorrow at 1. A UCF at Tulsa tomorrow at 5. Tulsa needs a win. Joe Lenardi with his updated bracketology today and all the updated bracketology. Tulsa's on that way outside looking in. They could get back in somewhat of a mix with a hot finish, and that would start tomorrow at home against UCF, and then tomorrow night at Tulane for the Tigers, that game at 7 o'clock. On Sunday, South Florida at Temple. That's a real early game Sunday morning, 11 o'clock. And then in the afternoon, Cincinnati and Houston. That's one we will be watching.
That will be a great game.
That should be a good game call. It really should be. Cincinnati at Houston. That's a 2 o'clock game. And then at 3 o'clock, Wichita State at SMU. So still some jockeying.
That should be a good game as well.
It sure should be. Some jockeying for seeding in the AAC and in all these conference tournaments. And next week, the conference tournaments start in some of the smaller conferences. On Tuesday, I think the Atlantic Sun kicks it off, and then with every passing day, more and more games, and really just wall-to-wall basketball the rest of the month of March. My favorite 2 sports months of the year, it's March and October. And October's my preference because that's my 2 favorite sports. That's baseball and the good stuff with baseball, the playoffs and the World Series, and the heat of college football. And a lot of the rivalry games like OU Texas and the cocktail party sometimes in October, third week of October with Tennessee and Alabama. Usually, it's not this year and it wasn't last year, but usually Ole Miss, LSU's in that month. Used to, way back, Arkansas and Texas usually would be in the month of October. But March, the 2 sleep deprivation months for me of staying up and wanting to watch everything, all the recaps, all the shows. It's March. And
you should really see me in March because I have one on the computer screen, one on my phone, one on the tablet.
You got it all going, huh?
I have to have it all going, especially in March.
And you give me a bracket, I don't care what league it is. You can give me the old Trans-American Athletic Conference that Arkansas Little Rock played in, the old TAC, when they'd play the conference tournament downtown at the Excelsior in Little Rock. Yeah, in a ballroom, the original ballroom basketball. You give me a bracket, and I'm interested in it. I love this time of year.
I do too as well. Like it's just exciting because they're actually playing for a certain goal. They want to win. They play hard.
And Carl, I'll repeat myself a bunch next week in the next few weeks. I'm not so sure that some of the 1-bid leagues in the little bitty bandbox gyms that look like gyms. I mean, look like this
school gym.
Yeah, just a high school, maybe junior high gym. I like that emotion. They know if they don't win that automatic bid, they're not going to the tournament, probably not going to the NIT unless they were conference champions.
It's their last game.
I like the all-in aspect of it. I like the emotion of it. You're going to get the court storming at those. I don't even know what league they're in, but whenever Ryder wins their league, I like it. Or I've mentioned the MAAC tournament. I love it.
Yeah, I've seen some of their games a while ago, but yeah, those small conferences that only get 1 bid. Those conference tournaments be very exciting. Like one for me is the OVC, the Ohio Valley.
I love the OVC.
I love
tournament.
the OVC. I have 2 cousins that played in the OVC.
Where'd they play, Carl?
They both played at UT Martin.
Okay.
So I've seen those games. And
Lester Hudson's not one of your cousins.
Yes, that's my cousin.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's my cousin. So
with the man with the quadruple double.
And it's like, so I've seen multiple games he's played in. I've seen the game when he's not younger than me, but he's younger than Lester.
Uh-huh.
Him and Cameron Payne went at it.
Oh, yeah.
His senior night at UT Martin. I've seen that game. So I understand how those 1-bid conferences, how they play.
The Lester Hudson story was amazing. How his game, how he could play, and then his time here. It almost was a movie how it played out. How's he doing?
He's doing pretty well.
Great. That is great. And a quadruple double. Got a friend of mine that was the play-by-play guy for the campus station. Our old buddy Ben Hogan was the play-by-play guy on that game at Martin that night.
We're going to have to try to get him on your show.
Oh, I will have to catch up with Ben, and he's a great guy. Used to be here, been all over town at a lot of good places, and he's now at Fox 13 as a producer and a really good guy. So some jockeying for seeding in the AAC right now. The Tigers are in that 6th spot. That's going to be the last game of the first day. And this is no shot at the Tigers. I don't care who you are in these conference tournaments. That first game around 11 o'clock or noon, there's not a lot of people there. And that last game of the day, even us basketball, 4 games in 4 days people are kind of basketballed out. It could be a really lean crowd. And they usually turn on the better seed, the better team, which probably will be the Tigers in this case. However many people are in Dickies Arena in Fort Worth that night will probably turn on the Tigers and throw the fandom behind whomever would be the 11th seed, but the Tigers can still improve. And you look at all this bracketology, they are not out of it yet, whether it's Joe Lenardi, our friend Shelby Mast, Jerry Palm that's on these airwaves every week with Greg and Eli, they Mike DeCourcy at Fox College Basketball, they are not out of it. And it is simple. The Tigers have to win and then scoreboard watch and hope, like in I'm using, for example, the Rhode Island game tomorrow night against St. Louis U, the Billikens. Tigers fans, you got to be pulling a little for Rhode Island as much as it's going to make a difference. New Mexico hosting Utah State. And it's kind of the same teams now in every bracketologist's last 8 to 10 to 12 teams. It's the same likely suspects in that. The Tigers in that. Arkansas's in that. UCLA's in it, and the job that Mick Cronin is doing. And we will talk with Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet that knows the Pac-12 and knows the LA sports scene very, very well. Bruce Marshall he'll be our guest. At 3:30, at 4 o'clock, we talk Grizzlies with Peter Edmiston. At 4:30, NFL Combine to Indianapolis to visit with Alan Bell. At 5 o'clock, Drew DeArmond on the weekend for Auburn as they face Kentucky tomorrow in the 2:45 CBS national game.
Is that game in Kentucky or Auburn?
That game is at Kentucky at Rupp Arena at 2:45 on CBS. And at 5:30, we'll have Drew DeArmond to talk about Auburn. And at 5:30, we'll have Blake Lovell from Clutch Points At and Blue Ribbon Magazine on the entire college basketball scene. We're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Factory Direct Pool, Spa, and Patio Furniture. Pool starting at $19.99. Pool chemicals, toys, accessories, up to 20% off. Spa starting at $21.99. Swim spas now only $9.99. Patio furniture, 5-piece sets starting at $7.99. Maintenance-free poly furniture up to 20% off. Mention this ad and get free delivery and 1 month of chemicals with your spa purchase. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Let's get our top story of the day.
Top story of the day.
It's pretty easy. It's the big weekend at home for the Grizzlies. First home game tonight in 16 days. 16 days since we've seen the Grizzlies. And when we said goodbye to them on that date, things were rolling along pretty well into the break. Tonight against Sacramento, and then tomorrow night against Showtime. And all those LeBron James jerseys and Lakers jerseys will be out. Wonder if any old school Magic Johnson jerseys. I bet in tribute there will be a lot of Kobe tomorrow night.
Very. It should be.
And it should be. One of the more despicable stories I've seen all day today. Boy, that's saying something because there's a lot of stuff out there that's pretty despicable. Some of the L.A. County officials saving and showing crime scene photos of the deceased and of the wreckage. It's not all the L.A. County deputies, but the ones that did it. Just disgraceful. Big game tomorrow night, though, for the Grizzlies against LeBron James and the Lakers. A loss to Sacramento tonight, it'll make it 5 L's in a row. 6 is the longest streak of the year for the Grizzlies, and that was way back in November when most thought they were going to win something in the 20s. 1-2 this year against Sacramento, so also tiebreaker on the line. That's a de facto game lead. The Grizzlies win tonight. Well, it would be tied. Then it would go to Western Conference opponents the rest of the way. So tonight is really big to not fall completely on the wrong side of that tiebreaker. So really big. Not top story.
Not top story of the day.
All indications are that Tom Brady will leave the New England Patriots. I have said I will believe it when I see it.
I have to agree with you. I believe it when I see it.
I've got to see him say goodbye, big game Bobby Kraft, goodbye Coach Belichick, goodbye Julian Edelman, goodbye New England, the most revered sports figure in the history of Boston, bigger than Ted Williams, bigger than Bill Russell, bigger than all the retired numbers for the Celtics, bigger than Carl Yastrzemski.
The only way I see him leaving is retiring. I don't see him going to another team.
Well, here are the prospects for TB12. Is he on the move to Nashville with the Titans? Maybe Las Vegas with the Las Vegas Raiders. That's going to take some getting used to, isn't it? Maybe hometown to San Francisco. Maybe the Chargers in L.A. If he goes to San Francisco, number 12 is retired for John Brody. Would they break it out of retirement and give it to Tom Brady? If he goes to San Francisco and they don't, they keep it retired. Nobody ever going to wear it again like we all say on retirement jersey ceremony day. He can't get number 10, what he wore in college. Jimmy Garoppolo wears it. Would it be TB11? Would he go to old number 11 for the 49ers?
It just wouldn't seem right. It just would not seem right.
It would not seem right, would it, Carl? But TB11 doesn't roll at all, does it? Alex Smith wore that number pretty well very recently for the 49ers, but it could be TB11 in San Francisco. But I've got to see him leave New England before I'll believe it. It sure sounded like he will, if nothing else, for the money aspect of it for New England. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Kick off your spring the right way at Lexus of Memphis. Great offers on all the 2020 models, always special lease options. If you've ever thought I look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus as well. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you will be looking and driving great. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis. 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line, 67129 at the First Bank text line. Dave on the road today traveling with the Tigers for the big game tomorrow night in Tulane. I know a lot of Tiger fans are going. Really good trip to go on. You could leave about now, right after work, get down there in plenty of time. About when New Orleans is really getting fun, yes, when you would arrive tonight.
Nightlife is very fun.
Yeah, it doesn't sleep very much, even in this post-Mardi Gras Lenten season. And then tomorrow night, a late-night game on the campus of Tulane. You could enjoy the day, go to the game, and enjoy the night. And I know a lot of Tiger fans are down there. We will talk a lot of Tigers today, and I hope you were listening when I was talking about the record against Tulane, because that will come up at some point today. The Germantown Collierville Commissary big cue of the day. I hope you had your attention. I hope I had your attention when I was talking about the Tigers and Tulane. We break. When we come back, we visit with Bruce Marshall from the Goal Sheet. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats, produced by Carl Morris on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and CJ Hertz. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Hey everybody, love is in the air and no one loves their customers more than our friends at All Star Chevrolet. And if you want to be in love with a new Chevy, Olive Branch is where you want to be. All the deals you love are at All Star Chevrolet. Like the new 2020 Silverados with 0 for 72 plus thousands in customer cash. How about 0 for 72 with a new 2020 Equinox plus thousands in cash when you finance with GM. And Chevy keeps getting the awards. And the awards mean a lot, people. Like the new Corvette Stingray 2020 North American Car of the Year arriving soon, so stay tuned. And everybody at All-Star Chevy has one job to make sure you get a better deal that's more fun and in record time. Remember, not the Pike, not Mount Moriah, not South David, not Collierville. It's got to be Olive Branch. So if you could love a new Chevy right now, maybe a new Silverado or an Equinox, head to Olive Branch and drive what you want today. Drive them all. Just find new roads to All-Star Chevy and Olive Branch or go to allstarautogroup.com today.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Imagine for a moment the perfect food, just what you're craving, made hot, fresh, and fast. And you're imagining Sunrise on Jefferson. Whether you're going to settle in for a nice leisurely breakfast or lunch, or you're going to swing by for the best takeout in Memphis, the ideal meal is always waiting for you at Sunrise. Maybe you're craving a perfect breakfast. That's at Sunrise. Or a delicious burger. That's at Sunrise, too. No matter what it is you're craving, I guarantee it's on the menu at Sunrise, just waiting for you to order it.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. Do not forget to buy lentils, or the lentil soup you're making for dinner will be sorely lacking. By the way, Mrs. Calloway says thanks for helping her bundle home and auto. She appreciates the extra savings, even though you kept using the word apropos incorrectly. But the main thing is do not forget to buy, what was it? Something apropos the lentil soup. Sorry, I'll call you back.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Happy Friday to one and all. We're glad you're with us and got a lot in store for you today. And on Friday, we missed him last week, but we're glad to have Bruce Marshall from the Goal Sheet back with us in his appointed time with us on Fridays. Been on these airwaves in this market since 1992, and it's always fun to visit with him. And he's got an interesting story to tell while he was away, and we will get into that. It now very much will pertain to the world of sports. Bruce Marshall joins us now. Good afternoon, Bruce. Welcome home. Glad you're back with us.
Yeah, boy, I'm glad to be back here too, Brett. That was kind of a wild week for me.
I know you went to Italy to see grandchildren and family,
Yep.
and when you left, it was about a page 6 story, and now it's page 1 story all over the world, the coronavirus. And did you have any trouble getting out of Italy?
I actually didn't, although it changed. I was up in Milan. That's where grandbaby lives. And, we were supposed to go to the Inter Milan-Sampdoria match on a Sunday, too. That got postponed that morning. I mean, since then they've been playing soccer matches with nobody in the stands, but they just canceled everything. And Milan turned into a ghost town by Monday. Now, there's only a couple of these things that were in Milan, and there were some other cases in the region up there, but not actually in Milan. Milan's a big city, but it still ground the city to a halt. And I got out of there okay on a Tuesday and came up through Germany, and they tested you to get on the planes and all that, so everything is good. But no, it took over the news there immediately, and it just didn't stop. Completely. And then, like I said, by Monday, the city was like a ghost town, and people were raiding the store shelves, too. So my daughter and her husband and the baby went up to his family in Switzerland, so they're staying up there now, just because convenience-wise. Not that it's dangerous in Milan, but just it's hard to go to the store because everybody's bought all the food. But it was disruptive, too, and what a week for me to pick to go there. I mean,
no kidding. And
I still haven't seen the soccer game in the San Siro. I got to wait for that, I guess.
On your flight back and around the airports, did you and how many people were donning protective masks?
Yeah, there were a lot.
Did you?
I did not. No, the risk was it's astronomical. That
it truly is, Bruce.
That I got it.
It truly is, and I'm all for being safe, and I'm all for preparation. Yeah. And hey, I'm going to use really bad grammar here. It done got real when the stock market drops 5,000 points this week. It's very real. It's very real around the world. It could be very real at some point in Memphis, Tennessee, in Brett's world. But right now, I think a little more prudence and a little more. A little less anxiety for most people. For me, right now, it sure could change. I stand a better chance being hit by a bolt of lightning today than I do getting the coronavirus.
Yeah, you're right. And you read up on it, and it's not. I mean, the people that have really gotten really sick from this it's generally elderly people with respiratory problems. It's just like if you get normally sick, a bad cold, a flu, you can have problems too if you're not careful. So it's that's basically what it is. It is we got to watch this thing. But,
Do you think it will change
most
people's?
at risk are,
Do you think it will change people's sporting habits in the United States?
For a short term, it could. I mean, it would prevent people from what I've seen in Italy. It would prevent people from going out if you saw something like that here. And the way that the media is covering it, and they overwhelm, they could. They frighten the financial markets, and they could frighten the populace too enough. But it's a lot of overreaction. We haven't got there yet, but then we haven't had. The first time you get a little bit of a breakout here, I would be worried, even traveling some at that point, because the way they'd be shutting some things down, might be, just keep an eye on all that stuff. But it could, the way people are reacting to this stuff, it not to minimize it, but I do think there's some overreaction in there. Yeah.
Absolutely, not to minimize it. I think it's always good to be cautious and prepared for any and all, and conserve and be ready for something. But for me personally, now if it's somebody else out there, if you don't want to do the crowds thing, or you want to go to the Grizzlies game tonight and you wear a protective mask, that's fine. It's not changing one thing I do. I'm going to the Grizzlies tonight, Ole Miss Vandy tomorrow, and Grizzlies tomorrow night. All right, let's talk about on the field of play. Kinda. Do you think you'll see next year, in the first year of the Las Vegas Raiders, Tom Brady as a Raider?
I don't think it's impossible. I still think the Patriots are the big favorite for him here. I think he's more likely, if he goes somewhere, to go to Tennessee. But we'll see. I think for him right now, it's just who's going to pay him. He wants top dollar, and he's played it too long for a discount with the Patriots. And I would think Bob Kraft would honor that, though, and would react and keep him there. And but if he doesn't, I think Brady's just at the point now. I think he's going 2 more years, and he wants top dollar, and then maybe he says adios. And whoever gives it to him is there. It's possible the Raiders, Chargers, possible. I think Tennessee is actually a better fit for him. He'd be with Vrabel, although you've got Tannehill there too. And if that doesn't happen, I think they'll just franchise Tannehill. The Raiders are possible too. I don't see it's impossible. I still think the Patriots, though, have to be the favorite. Chargers
and 49ers also mentioned, and kind of down ballot the Bears, but the Bears have already said they're for next year they're going to go at least one more and try to put and try to put an offensive line in front of Mitch Trubisky. To college basketball, and I tease this about you. You know that LA sports scene well, and while you haven't written off the athletics department at UCLA, you have talked about how very damaged it has been, both financially and in the left-hand column in garnering wins. Mick Cronin truly pulling one of the great coaching jobs of the year. They lost, and now Hofstra is not bad. Hofstra will probably win their league, but they lost non-conference to Hofstra and to Cal State, Bakersfield or Fullerton? Fullerton, okay.
Yep. Yes, this is, and it may be also a reflection. Maybe the Pac-12 isn't all that great. I mean, North Carolina handled UCLA pretty easily too, but it's a different. I mean, the start of the Pac-12 season, UCLA wasn't doing that well either, and they've picked up momentum, and now it's 11-13, and it's a pretty young team. And all of a sudden, the pieces are fitting, and these. I didn't think he was getting any buy-in on these kids to play Cronin style at the start of the season, but he's gotten some buy-in now, and they had some games. They won some games out on the road here, and I think that's a telltale sign that a team's coming around. If you go out on the road and win, that's pretty darn good. And so they went into Arizona last month and won. Went into Colorado and won last week, coming from behind. And they're playing some bully ball, and you usually don't see UCLA doing that. And he's got some pretty good backcourt work. That game with Arizona State last night, which, by the way, I think was a tournament team too, that was one of the best games I saw all year. UCLA's creeping up, and they're right on the edge, right in the cut line now. And I think they may qualify here. They've got to play Arizona. If they beat Arizona tomorrow and USC next week, they're going to have to lose their way out of it in the Pac-12 tournament. This thing has changed really quick. This has been the coronavirus, the college hoops version here. Things change quick, and it's happening at UCLA.
Yeah, they can change quick. Speaking of UCLA, a college football hire while you were away, were you shocked when Colorado made their selection, the former head coach at UCLA, Carl Durrell, who absolutely did nothing as the Bruin head football coach?
Stunned, except it doesn't surprise me Colorado did that.
Well, they do the goofy, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They're prone to goofy. I mean, they were thrown a lifeline by Michigan State. were thrown a bloody lifeline by them to get Mel Tucker out of there. And why Michigan State hired him, I have no idea. But they got a chance then to do it right, and they went ahead and Dorrell just listen. It's not just the old UCLA thing there, and the Bruin program really started to decline when he was there. He had one good year when UCLA won a lot of close games.
Oh, he was bad at Vandy.
That's the problem. That's the other one.
Yeah.
At Vandy, he was there right at the start with Derek Mason and did nothing there. And they dropped so much, and a lot of people blame Dorrell for a lot of what went on there that first year when he was running that offense, and it was awful. And the last few years in the NFL, I don't know that he particularly distinguished himself. There are so many other coaches out there who deserve a chance at this. And to get it going. Now, Dorrell does have some roots in Colorado there. He'd been on staff there. He'd been on the Broncos staff at one point. But I just think they blew it. And 3-4 years down the road, we'll see Colorado looking for another coach.
We sure will. And down the stretch of that coaching search, you saw a lot of different names out there, including Brett Bielema. His name was out there, and pretty prominently. There were some that thought he might get it, and it just seemed too easy to hire Eric Bieniemy. When he passed, you knew it was a mess.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. When Bieniemy pulled himself out of it, I think he knew that they just the blind leading the blind there at Colorado, and they like I said, they were thrown a lifeline by Michigan State. They had a chance to really do it. Bielema would have been a fine hire, and sure, Bieniemy too. I mean, he's an ex-Buff. I mean. But when he pulled his name out, you're right. You knew something was not going right there.
And that 1 year of Carl Dorrell as the offense coordinator, Ole Miss, we played Vandy very early in that year at the Titan Stadium. They could not get lined up correctly, Bruce. It was truly a disaster for Vandy.
It was, and I've heard, Derek Mason really deferred a lot to Dorrell that year. And you're right. The offense was a disaster. I mean, the opening game that year against Temple was as bad as I've seen it. I've seen a lot of bad Vandy over the years. That was as bad as it looked. And that I think it was 41-3. I think Ole Miss went up there and won Titan Stadium. I mean, it was a bad deal. So yeah, I'm shocked that Colorado made that hire. Really.
And for a young head coach like Derek Mason was, and more of a defensive-minded coach, I think I know I saw it with Will Muschamp. What Charlie Weiss did to him at Florida. He did him no favors. If that offensive guy kind of messes it up that badly, it inhibits their head coaching growth, and they really never trust an offensive guy again.
Yeah, and I think you sort of see that with Mason. I think he had the clamps on Andy Ludwig some for a few years. Ludwig was a pretty good hire. They brought in there eventually, but even he was forced into being a bit more straight-laced than he would have liked. And then he went back to Utah before last season. I don't think Mason's really ever got it. He's never fully trusted the offense after that one bad hire, which really surprised me again why Colorado did this, because Dorrell's shown he really can't, run an offense like that. And he had his chance at UCLA where you got every opportunity to win there, even though it was during the Pete Carroll era. And UCLA declined significantly on his watch.
At the goal sheet, have you updated your bracket? A lot of bracketology out there. Pretty much the same names for everybody. It's really coalesced and boiled down, but the Memphis Tigers still on the outside looking in, but not completely out of it. How does it look for you at the goal sheet with the Tigers?
Yeah, I've got them on the next 4 out list. So first 4 out, next 4 out. So I think they're on the wrong side of the cut line right now. They stay there after the win over Houston last week, and so they're not completely out of this thing here yet. Maybe there's a chance that they could still move up, but they don't have much room for error right now as we come into the final, week and a half here of the regular season. And, they will get another shot at Houston and Wichita, so they will help themselves. I'm not sure Wichita would even be a quad 1 win right now. Houston would be. So if they can win out, they beat Tulane tomorrow and then win the last 2, they might be straddling the cut line right into the American tournament. So, but that's their plot right now. Their best route in is to win the American tournament for sure. But they could give themselves an at-large chance if they win out here these next 3.
When do conference tournaments start for you in Las Vegas? I know 4 different tournaments will come through over these next 2 weeks or so. That's a lot of basketball.
Yeah, and actually they're starting next week. Now, the West Coast starts earlier, as we know, but the Mountain West has moved up earlier. It's a week earlier this year, and so it'll start next Wednesday, and that's a week early. And then the following week, the WAC will be here, and of course the Pac-12 will be at T-Mobile. The Mountain West moved up a bit earlier this year because there's a big convention in Las Vegas next week, the construction convention that's taken up all the hotel rooms. For once, the Mountain West made a right decision and said, let's just have it the week earlier. Pac-12 is having a lot of trouble getting hotel rooms for its visiting fans who are coming in, so they are being spread out all farther away in the valley here from the Strip and near T-Mobile. But that's why the Mountain West moved it up a week early. So next week I'll be heading out to Thomas and Mack Center to watch some of those games.
Also on the bubble locally, Arkansas. Where do you have them in your bracketology?
I got Arkansas as one of the last teams in right now. I actually put them in there. Last four in. I got them in a play-in game along with Providence, Stanford, and Oklahoma as the four at-large teams in the play-in for Dayton. Getting Isaiah Joe back. And what what they missed with him. I mean, it was no coincidence that they started to lose, when he got hurt. He's probably their best perimeter defender. He's their second leading scorer. And immediately, as soon as he came back in there, they started to win last week. And of course, Mason Jones is really one of the top scorers, and that 37 against Tennessee was really big the other night. So Jones and Joe in the backcourt make Arkansas there. If they can go in tomorrow, if they can steal one tomorrow at Georgia, and I think they can, and then they get LSU at home next week, I think they're going to land on the right side. This looked like a tournament team about to the start of February. Then that slump came in, but a lot of that, it's with one of your best players is out, and the committee should usually look at that sort of thing, especially if a team recovers after that.
Bruce, we're glad you're home. Tell our listeners how they can access more information from you and from the Gold Sheet.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Check us out on GoldSheet.com. Got the new issue up there right now, and you can see right on the cover page there my new brackets, and it's also a low major conference tournament preview. So that comes up, most of those start up next week, and some interesting games there too. And if you're down in Mississippi or somewhere else, you can bet all these games on the low major leagues as well. All of these games are up on the big board now. But I'll preview all those tournaments as well. That's at GoldSheet.com. And also my picks are up there, as well as at Vegas Insider, DonBest.com, Twitter at Bruce A. Marshall.
Bruce, you can bet them in West Memphis, Arkansas at Southland now.
Hey, there you go.
Just minutes away from here and from downtown Memphis. It's closer, and we've got it all around. You can throw a rock now and bet on a ball game.
You don't have to go down to Tunica. Okay, that works.
It's a lot closer. Bruce, glad you're home. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to visiting next week. Enjoy all these games. Thank you.
Yeah, enjoy the hoops. Thanks, Brett.
You got it. Bruce Marshall with us on Friday from the Gold Sheet. Home safe and sound from seeing the Grands in Italy and fortunate to get out. Again, I watch the news, and I am conscious of it. And I think everybody needs to do what you think is best and be careful and do what we've been told since we were about 2 years old. Wash your hands and try to be really clean with everything we're doing. If you sneeze into your arm. Don't do it all over everybody around you. But I think it's a little bit of a panic. But the stock market, I think, is being affected because of the supply chain, the worldwide supply chain that is initiated largely out of China, one of the most, the biggest country in the world. And you see what has happened this week at the stock market. But I think it's some good buys out there for somebody here in a few weeks after it settles down, and I think it will settle down. We'll settle down with the final hour when we return. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 96.1, and 87.7.
It's WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
It's February. Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. Are you considering replacing your air conditioning system this spring? Conway Services and Carrier have teamed up to make now the perfect time to replace that old energy-guzzling system. February is one of our slowest months of the year. Our warehouse is full and our crews are slow. So to spark business during these slow winter months, Conway Services is giving away Carrier 80% gas furnaces absolutely free with the purchase of a standard Carrier air conditioning system. That's right, purchase a Carrier air conditioning system in the month of February and get the gas furnace for free. If that's not enough, we'll include an April air cleaner, a 10-year parts warranty, and a free Nest thermostat. plus 12 months interest-free. See why I call it February? And you know with Conway Services, you'll be receiving our award-winning service every time. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric service company, and the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old heating and air conditioning system will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Mid-South Power Distributors is your source for all things diesel. Their newly renovated drive-in repair shop is open to the public. Whether it'll be your everyday driver, farm equipment, fleet vehicle, or heavy-duty truck, their ASE-certified technicians will get you back on the road. The on-site dyno is ready to run all the necessary diagnostic testing. From preventative maintenance to complete overhauls, Mid-South Power can handle it all. Stop in today at 3288 Mill Branch Road or call 901-396-0710 and online at mid-southpower.com.
Yeah, so Aiden's coffee spot is really undope. They asked what they can get me, and I'm like, the code to the bathroom. Stop trying to sell me something.
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
Also, the Wi-Fi password was too hard to spell, and I can, totally spell stuff.
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
They didn't have any cups out for the free cream, so I just drank it out of the pitcher.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Into the unknown.
Are you headed into the unknown with the digital marketing for your business?
Into the unknown.
Maybe you could create the best digital content for your ad campaigns, but it's unknown whether you will find the time. Or maybe measuring the results in analytics is unknown for you. Digital Mid-South can help you with the unknowns of digital marketing. Website development, graphic design, social media marketing, search engine optimization, online video marketing, e-commerce, and more. Check out digitalmidsouth.com to learn how you can help with your online digital advertising campaigns, or call Brian White at 901-375-9324. That's Brian White, 901-375-9324. digitalmidsouth.com. Digital content creation, delivery, and management.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wolochin and Brad Norsworthy.
What I'm saying is, this is the anthem. Throw all your hands up.
67129 at the First Bank text line, 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. We'd love for you to be a part of our show, and you can hit us up at any time you would like. You also can watch us live and message us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, and YouTube. And at First Bank, they know what you need. You need a reliable, trustworthy Memphis banker that can give you an answer for you about you right here in Memphis. They make the decisions for Memphis right here in Memphis, for the customers in their backyard. A direct answer from the First Bank banker you're dealing with. Not have to send it off to a loan committee in Knoxville or Chattanooga or Birmingham or Nashville. They make the decision right here. First Bank, with a story and a record of customers reaching high, community banks are the preferred lender of people building a success story. Build your success story with First Bank. At First Bank Mortgage, their core purpose is to help you get to a better place. That better place may be a lower monthly payment, that vacation you thought was impossible, or getting into a home with a fenced backyard where your kids can play. To get you into your better place, First Bank Mortgage makes the decisions about you right here at home in Memphis, dedicated to helping you get to your better place. First Bank Mortgage, call 901-462-0145 today. Visit firstbankonline.com. That's firstbankonline.com. I wonder if we will see in sports in our area over the next 2 or 3 weeks, be it at the SEC tournament or the AAC tournament, heck, tonight at FedEx Forum, do you think anybody will have the preventive mask around that many people indoors? I haven't seen one anywhere in our community.
I was about to say the same thing. I don't believe there will, because I haven't seen anybody with, any of those masks.
I'm not knocking it. I am not. That is your business. Heck, that might be good practice if you we're feeling a little flu or common cold type thing anyway this time, right here at the end of the season.
I've seen it more when the little stomach bug was going around. I seen it more then, but with this coronavirus, I haven't seen anybody with it.
And again, fine. I'm not knocking anybody. I just think it's a little dramatic. A little dramatic. You hear these numbers, and you're worried. You got a texture that says that somebody a news report said 40% of us in the United States would get it. And I don't want anybody to get it, but I don't know what I think the fatality rate around the world has already been very low. I'm no doctor. I'm just saying I'm not changing any of my lifestyle, my plans. I got a plan to go to St. Louis in April. I got a plan to go to St. Louis in June. I got a plan to go to SEC Media Days in Atlanta, and I got a plan for college football this football season, and not one thing's changing.
It shouldn't stop you at all.
Not at all. I think we need to live and let live. The Tigers, they're going to live and let live. If you're on that trip in New Orleans, you're going to live and let live the next 2 days.
Hopefully.
For sure. The Tigers off the loss against SMU, the win last Saturday.
Which was a very winnable game. Very winnable.
It was aggravating, both games against SMU. Carl, I've said I thought Tim Jankovich both times did not outcoach, just purely stole the games. Both times. The home loss to SMU here and the loss to SMU there, they were better. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win, but I think he was shocked he won both of them.
Me personally, when I watched the game against SMU at SMU, I don't believe it was outcoached, or I believe my personal belief was they basically gave it the game. They didn't win. The Tigers lost that game with the 2 back-to-back turnover from Precious Achulia. Then Damian Ball comes back next possession, throw the ball away.
Yeah, and I thought a little sketchy officiating at SMU, and I normally don't go there, but I thought on the receiving end of some questionable calls, but that's part of it on the road. 21 turnovers also. Make no mistake about it.
That's all on the players. Like, I honestly feel like, far as the turnovers, our biggest downfall is turnovers and our half-court offense. Our half-court offense is terrible.
It has been weak all year, and look, when you score that few points, that's why I reject people out there wanting Penny Hardaway just for show to blow up and get a technical foul. I don't think he can afford to, as narrow as these games are. Well, you could do it in the first 5 minutes of the game, Brett, and it won't make that big a difference. No, you give them points on the technical free throws made, and you give them the ball, and they make a bucket out of that possession. If they make a 3 out of that, you can't afford to give away that many points at any point for this Tiger team, because all these games have been so narrow because that offense has been very deficient. It just has been.
That's what in my opinion, he needs to work more on, of course, turning down on those turnovers. And you see that these teams are now slowing you down because they see that's working against us. Work on half-court offense. You an NBA player, former NBA player. You're a great coach. You've seen you win on all levels. Now it's your turn to win on the college level. So implement plays that works on half-court. Get those guys moving and swinging the ball from side to side. And along with the defense we run, you will see a big change.
The passing for the Tigers in the half-court sets has been very, very, very average all year. That's got to improve for sure. Hour 1 in the books. We start hour 2. We start it with Peter Edmiston from Sports 56 Mornings with Peter and CJ. Peter also with The Athletic. We will talk a lot of Grizzlies and a lot of NBA with him. That's next. Hour 2 is coming up on Sportstime with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings & Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings & Grill is family-friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every $1 you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's off Highway 64 in Bartlett, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings & Grill.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Happening across the nation right now. ADP is helping Party City stores streamline recruiting. Music houses like Squeaky Clean Studios are demoing tracks while ADP helps keep business on track. And ADP helps a small Mexican restaurant keep up with compliance demands. When ADP helps businesses achieve what they're working for, that's newsworthy. HR talent, time, benefits, and payroll. Informed by data and designed for people. Learn more at design.adp.com.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1, and 87.7 FM, as well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, tell Alexa or Google to play Sports 56. If it's happening in the world of sports, we've got it covered. Wherever you are, stay tuned to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We start hour 2 on this Friday afternoon, the last Friday of February. Next week starts the month of madness. It gets a little crazy tonight for the Memphis Grizzlies as they host Sacramento, that started this streak with the loss out of the break. That was really the one the Grizzlies had to get on that 4-game roadie. They didn't. They dropped that game to Sacramento 129-125. First game out of the break, and it's gotten progressively worse since then. A loss tonight to Sacramento and to the Lakers tomorrow night, then I think the Grizzlies brass really have to make, I don't think that tough a decision or decisions. This has really all kind of been a bonus. This playoff euphoria, playoff run, I use both of those terms a little bit loosely because this is really when you get into euphoria and run time, is when you get into March and down the stretch of the season for the Grizzlies then in early April. To talk about it with us from Sports 56 Mornings with Peter and CJ, you can follow him on Twitter at Peter Edmiston and read and follow him at The Athletic. Peter Edmiston joins us now as he does most Fridays to talk Grizzlies and NBA. Peter, with me or against me? I don't think a tough decision to realize it may not be a go-for-it year if it's not a go-for-it year.
Well, I mean, I think that was kind of the whole thing. I mean, they had made that determination a long time ago. So really what you're seeing is, or what you've seen this year is just a continuation of the plan that they put in place, months and months ago. And it wasn't going to change based on their performance, nor should it. It was, this is just kind of the opportunity, for example, to trade for Justice Winslow. In their mind, he was a unique piece in terms of his age, his fit with the rest of the young core. All those things made him unique, and so they felt like they needed to do whatever they needed to do to go get him, in spite of the fact that it left the cupboard somewhat bare in case of an emergency. And lo and behold, when you know it, an emergency happens and you lose 2 guys. So. Yeah, that's that. I think I have no issue with the way they handled it.
Yeah, tonight in a game against Sacramento, Sacramento's in that mix of teams. I think they are about as much in it as San Antonio, New Orleans, Portland, and Memphis for that 8th and final playoff spot. A loss tonight doesn't make me sad. I prefer the Grizzlies win tonight and tomorrow night, but I'm not going to be abjectly distraught over not going to the playoffs this year.
Well, I mean, again, I can't speak for everybody, but the idea is winning in the long term is more important, and sustainable growth, all those buzzwords, the idea that you're going to be able to have a group that's there and together for years to come. That's the idea going forward. And if that means it was always going to be tough, you can never prove a negative, Brett, but looking at how difficult the schedule is and who they're going to play, I mean, that road trip, for example, they go 0-4 is probably the worst road trip in recent memory. Got absolutely drubbed all the way around. Mm-hmm. And they would have certainly been more competitive in an ideal situation if they had made trades or guys were fully healthy or whatever. But in reality, you're looking at probably going 1-3 at best. That was probably the top end of games at the Kings, at Lakers, at Clippers, at Rockets. 1-3. I mean, I guess maybe 2-2, but like that would have been probably a little excessive. You're looking at probably a competitive, feisty 1-3. Not much difference between 1-3 and 0-4. So, tonight will be an interesting matchup, and it's the one. They really need to get this one. They've got a couple against the Hawks coming up, one against the Magic coming up.
Uh-huh.
Those four, if you can get those and kind of hang within striking distance when Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark potentially come back March 12th when they start a road trip that will see them go to Portland, Utah, San Antonio. That's a real that last stretch of the season is brutal. So they need those guys back, by then for sure.
Peter, I know you're familiar with, and for our listeners, the doomsday clock. Whatever that is, they have it. I don't know really who gets to handle the hands on it, but sometimes it moves closer to striking midnight, and sometimes it moves back. For the Western Conference, I do think that number to be the win number to be the 8th seed. I do think if it was the doomsday clock, it has moved down. Whatever it was before this week, I think it has moved down one this week. If it was 40, I think it's gone to 39. If it was 38, I think it's gone to 37. Do you think it's backed up a little? Because the Grizzlies have been able to saw one or two off their magic number just by all those other teams losing.
I don't think it's changed much because I think the schedules, in particular, if you look at New Orleans, their schedule over the last 15, 20 games is substantially easier than the Grizzlies. I mean, hugely. So I don't think it's changed too much in the median. At least for me, I don't know what the clock was, but I would have had it probably 37, 38 range.
It just makes me feel so good that you invoke my clock reference.
Well, I mean, we moved 20 seconds closer to midnight. By the way,
I know.
Don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah,
not too long ago. So yeah, we're
felt like 2 minutes to me.
It's like 11:58, 40 or something. It's not good. I don't know. The coronavirus probably not helping very much either. I'll be honest with you.
Here's my only thing with doomsday clocks, and like I've been Browning in 1999 predicting, the big earthquake here in Memphis, and we were going to be uninhabitable for 1,000.
That name. I have not that name. Oh my God, that name. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
That's.
Oh yeah.
Woo.
And I win something for I've been Browning on a Friday afternoon, don't I? But only bad thing about it, if you predict all that and you're right, who do you brag to?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Afterlife, maybe the party's pretty big. It's jumping a lot of new faces.
It
there,
better be good at Shangri-La.
I guess that's how it works. I really don't know. But no, the Grizzlies. I mean, again, I think it's unfortunate in one sense, but the Grizzlies have already exceeded expectation. I mean, they've already exceeded the Vegas over/under win total. And so the price you pay for having done all your work early is that the work you do late is going to be more heavily scrutinized. If the types of games that we were seeing or the circumstances with regard to the injuries, all that stuff, that was flipped and it had happened early, and then late in the season they had that push that they did through December and January, the story would be a little bit different. So I just think keeping the big picture in mind is important. What
was the biggest thing that really alarmed you about the 4-game losing streak on the road?
Well, I guess you would say the lack of competitiveness is probably the most alarming thing. Although it just really wasn't surprising, quite honestly. Like, I mean, as the Kings game was tough. That was one that you really needed to get back. But the Kings, for whatever reason, have been a really tough opponent for the Grizzlies this year.
2-1.
John Moran has not played well against De'Aaron Fox. Making Fox's health tonight the most important thing. Not only that, but the rest of the games, I guess, it's you never want to go through a road trip, Brett. I did the math on this, and they played 192 minutes in the 4 games, and the Grizzlies led for 1:57 of 192. They were down by 20
That's a doomsday
points.
clock.
Yeah, they were down by more than 20 points for 63 of those minutes. So basically, a game and a third, you're down by 20 points plus. That's not good. That's not fun. I would say in terms of the overall margin of loss and coupled with the injuries, you could make an argument that was the worst road trip in team history. So that's alarming too. But I guess it happens. It was not good.
Peter, for those late night West Coast games, and I even do this a little bit with the Cardinals, the numbers are a little different. I kind of set a number in my head. All right, when they get down this, that's it for me. If it's a miracle comeback, I'm going to read all about it tomorrow morning. So for the Lakers and the Clippers, I didn't do this for Sacramento because they stayed in it, and I didn't do it for Houston because it tipped at 7 o'clock our time. But for those 2 late 9:30 games, I kind of set in my mind, all right, whenever they get down 15, it's lights out. Boy, it didn't take long.
I was gonna say your lights were out about 5 minutes in. Like, well, all right, I guess that's it. Good night, everybody.
And for Houston, if I'd have set the 15-minute mark, I'd have been in bed by 7:30.
Well, I mean, again, you're talking about not ever after the Kings game. They didn't lead at all in any game. So that's problematic, and they went down so fast. It speaks to something that I've talked about as something I think Taylor Jenkins is going to have to look at more seriously, and that is making adjustments to the starting lineup. Now, obviously injuries have forced you to adjust the starting lineup anyway, but the starting lineup that was in existence prior to Jaren Jackson's injury with John Morant, Dillon Brooks, Kyle Anderson, Jaren Jackson, Jonas Valanciunas, that starting 5, Brett, had the lowest offensive rating of any unit that had played at least 100 minutes together in the NBA. There are 76 of those 5-man units. They had the worst offensive rating of any of those units by a comfortable margin. We're talking they were about 90, just over 90 points per 100 possessions. Second worst was 92. Third worst was 99.
Ooh.
There were only 3 teams below 100, and they're sitting at 90. And that's so that tells you that that's just not only a bad offense, but a putrid, a spectacularly bad offense. And that was with Jaren Jackson. So you take him out of the mix, it ain't getting a whole lot better. And so, my thought is you have to use this as an excuse to just overhaul everything. And tonight, for me, against a team like Sacramento has gone small, for those that don't know. I mean, they start Harry Giles at the 5. Who is traditionally a 4. They do bring Alex Lynn off the bench for a little size, but they are a little bit like Houston, not to Houston's degree, but they will play small and spread. And, for me, I don't know that you can have your traditional Valanciunas, Kyle Anderson, slower, non-shooting types in the mix when you just don't have anyone else out there. The Grizzlies just don't have the personnel. So I would go with I would try to overhaul things. I'd use this as an excuse to just kind of start fresh. And I'd have one set of starters for teams that I expect to play small, like Sacramento. And I'd have another set of starters that included, Valanciunas for teams like the Lakers that you expect to play bigger. And I think until you get your versatile guys back that can do both, Jaren Jackson can be both small or big, depending on how you want to line up. Same thing with Brandon Clark. And then Justice Winslow would help you there too. Until you get those guys back, I think you gotta try something a little radical, or else it's going to be more of the same.
Visiting with Peter Edmiston. You hear him every morning from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. on these airwaves with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter and CJ, and you read him at The Athletic, and you can follow him on Twitter at Peter Edmiston. The Grizzlies installed tonight by Las Vegas, West Memphis, and Tunica as a 3-point favorite over the Kings. I love that you mentioned Harry Giles. One year, I can't remember, maybe for it was around the 2016 Summer Olympics, and Rob Fisher and we were going over the rosters for that Olympic team that year for the United States, and we were looking forward maybe to 2020 and beyond of what some Olympics rosters would look like. I had Harry Giles on my future Olympics roster. He will not be on one.
He will not be, but that does not mean that he hasn't improved. He's had a nice year, and he, like Josh Jackson, is one of these third-year guys for whom the team has declined the fourth-year option, which is very unusual for a first-round draft pick. For Giles's case, it was injury related, that he just been so hurt his first 2 years that Sacramento did not feel they could trust him. Well, they will regret that, because Giles is playing quite well and certainly would earn an extension. And for the Grizzlies, Josh Jackson, I wonder if in the back of Zach Kleiman's mind, he's wishing that he had extended and gone ahead and pushed the button on that $8.9 million extension that Josh Jackson could have been given last October. It would have been a little risky at that point, but I think he's played really well in his first 11 games. And, for the Grizzlies now in the offseason, they're going to be limited as to what they can pay him. And it's going to it may come down to a decision to keep Josh Jackson versus signing some random outside free agent with their mid-level exception. That they're going to have to come. That's kind of going to be their main bit of business this off season. And I think Jackson is the next 20 games for him. Obviously, not just for getting the Grizzlies involved, but I would put him in the starting lineup tonight. And I think his versatility is really useful for the team right now.
Peter, wasn't the Dylan Brooks deal tantamount to a mid-level exception? And do you still like the deal?
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger, but not hugely so. The mid-level this year is going to come in about $9.7-ish million, and Dylan is 3 years, $35. So okay. On average, a little under $12 million a year. So it's what we would call Dylan's deal is what you would call basically decent level starter money in the NBA now. That's about what that is. That's not it's nothing extravagant. Yeah, I realize that everyone has to kind of, get your eyes from bugging out when you think about the numbers in so many of the sports these days. But if you think about it as a percentage of the salary cap, then it's like about 12 to 13% of your cap, which is not anything crazy. That would have been, the equivalent of like a $5 million deal back when the cap was $60 million, that kind of thing. I still think it was based on what you knew about Dylan Brooks. Sure. He's had a pretty crazy correction. Let's just say, he's kind of like the Dow. He's had a real strong run. It was really flying high. Everyone's looking great. And then, all of a sudden you start to worry about an external factor, and the Dow can't buy a bucket, and neither can Dylan Brooks. So
he sure can.
I don't think in the same way that I wouldn't just completely, liquidate my 401k. I'm not going to liquidate my Dylan Brooks stock just yet, but I am going to keep an eye on things because Dylan, even last game on Wednesday, when some were saying he broke out of his slump. I mean, to me, if you score 22 points and you take 26 shots and you don't take a free throw, that's not breaking out of your slump to me. That's about as inefficient.
Is it making it worse
as you can get? I don't know, because I don't think he was taking shots away from anybody. I don't think there was any Grizzly that was sitting out there, that needed all those shots. So not that big of a deal in that game. But I mean, if I'm a coach, I'm not loving a 22-point performance on 26 shots. I'm not. My baseline. My absolute baseline is I need you to average a point a shot. That's the absolute baseline. Let's try to do better than that. But, if you take 10 shots, you got to get at least 10 points and hopefully a few more. If you take 20 shots, I'm going to need at least 20. If you take 26 shots, well, we better start at 26 points and start counting from there. And we didn't get there. So I'm not real thrilled.
Yeah, and he goes 4 of 10 from 3 to raise his February 3 points.
Better. Well, that's 4 of 10 from 3, Brett, is okay. Like that part is okay because
you can live with it.
If you take 40% from 3 on 10, that's great. So I got no problem with the 3-point shooting. It's that 5 of 16 from inside the arc that we got issues with, and in particular, since he signed his extension, Brett, Dillon Brooks is under 30% at the rim.
Wow.
So that's not good.
So, but it sounds like to me, your overall view the rest of the way, I'm not talking about losing them all, going 0-24, and it all looking like the West Coast road trip, but you mostly don't care how it looks the rest of the way because you believe the fundamentals, the long-term plan that we and many others beg for, to have a plan, to have some cohesion, to have what words you used earlier?
Well, I mean, just to have an idea plan. I mean, the plan is the word, but to have an idea of going forward, what you're going to do.
You use sustainability.
Sustainability. That's right. There you go.
That was the right word. It doesn't sound like you're dissuaded much the rest of the way because you believe in the underpinnings.
Well, again, I mean, I think the idea of doing that is the right thing to do. Whether it's going to work or not, who knows? Whether they could have done a better deal to get a guy like Justice Winslow, whether they gave up too much, that remains to be seen. Whether they should have eaten Dion Waiters' contract in that deal, again, that remains to be seen. So, I mean, all those things that happened within the lines, we'll see how it all plays out. But I understand the logic of it. And for years, there were a lot of things that the Grizzlies did that just didn't make a lot of logical sense. There were a lot of things that didn't necessarily match. One hand did not necessarily wash the other. The left didn't know what the right was doing. This time, everyone's on the same page. From coaching staff, front office, on down the line, everybody's on the same page, and that's that part is refreshing. Now, to say that, I don't want to minimize the idea of Grizzly fans wanting to see a playoff team. I mean, I think that would be fun. That'd be great. I'd love to see a playoff team, and I'd love to see playoff games, even if it would be very tough for them to be competitive in any first-round series. I'd love to see it, and I'm sure they would too. But at the end of the day, it's how much are you willing to sacrifice to make that happen? How much is that worth doing damage to your longer-term goal? And in their mind, the answer was it's not. It's not at all. You have to just hope that you can get there with a team that's probably a little bit damaged, and we'll see if they can. But again, I would encourage everyone this next 7-game stretch before March 12th. I'm kind of pegging March 12th as like that begins that series. They'll be in Portland that night.
Yeah, 3-gamer.
If you get Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, Justice Winslow, if you got those 3 back, or at least 2 of them by then, you can attack the final 17 with as good a group as you're going to get. But that final 17, Brett, apart from a April Fool's Day game, appropriately enough, against the Knicks, apart from that game, the other 16 of their final 17 are against like playoff aspiring or absolute stone cold lock playoff teams, and it's brutal. I mean, so it's all hands on deck at that point, and that's why I think people just have not come to grips with how tough it's going to be. You got at Milwaukee, 2 against Toronto. You got back-to-back against New Orleans, who you've played really poorly against. You've got all these road games that are going to be tough. It is just one after the other. And so I don't care how healthy you are, that's going to be brutal.
So you wanted to be in the NBA, play Boston, Toronto, Dallas, Portland, and that's what it's going to be about down the stretch. Peter, I will see you tonight and tomorrow night, and I appreciate you joining us every Friday afternoon. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I can't wait for your Super Tuesday coverage coming up next week.
Looking forward to it. Do we vote? Do we go masked to the polls?
Yeah. I mean, I think now we do. I don't know about a couple months from now. Who knows? But.
I'm talking about coronavirus mask. Do we wear the?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think we're okay now, but you give it a couple more months.
Let it incubate a little.
Do you see the stat that 38% of Americans have declined their drinking of Corona beer because they're concerned about the coronavirus?
Unbelievable, isn't it?
We're doing great.
We're doing just fine.
We're doing great.
Well, I hope we really never have anything to worry about, don't you?
Me too. Jeez Louise.
Thank you, Peter. I'll see you tonight.
All right, Brett.
We appreciate it. Peter Edmiston from Sports 56 Mornings with Peter and CJ and The Athletic. And always good to join us on Friday afternoon. Look, you're getting ready to think about going out for something to eat before you head downtown to FedEx Forum. Don't forget about Jason's Deli at dinner time for a great meal at supper time, always lunchtime. I'm there all the time. I see you see me there at all the different locations. I love the one on Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. Jason's Deli, it's all about choice, whether it's lunchtime or it's dinner time, regardless. If you seek a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you would like to invent your sandwich via the Build Your Own, you can do it at Jason's Deli, and you'll be delighted at Jason's Deli. All the great organic food to choose from, and that salad bar, over 30 items just on the salad bar. You can build your own with as much as you want from those 30 items. Catering anytime, anywhere, and in the locations on Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. Free ice cream at any of the locations. All the great salads like the Mesa Chicken Salad, the Chicken Club Salad, the Chicken Caesar Salad. I love the taco salad. And those great sandwiches like the Beef Eater, the Deli Cowboy, the New York Yankee, and the hot corned beef sandwich, among many others. All the soups, all the spreads, all the breads, all the meats, all the cheeses at Jason's Deli. Check them out online at jasonsdeli.com. For the Grizzlies, I mentioned the other teams involved with the playoff stretch, and the Grizzlies are not by themselves. Just over these next four, Grizzlies home tonight against Sacramento, tomorrow night against the Lakers, at Atlanta, at Brooklyn. Is there a 1-3, 2-2 in there? Carl? 1-3, 2-2 in there?
I see them winning tonight, not tomorrow.
At Atlanta? At Brooklyn?
I can see them beating Brooklyn again because
might be 2 in there. There's not 3, though.
They might still win in Atlanta.
New Orleans, home against Cleveland, home against the Lakers, home against Minnesota, at Dallas. There's a 2-2 in there for them as well. Portland, at Atlanta, at Orlando, home against Washington, at Phoenix. That's the easiest one so far, and probably of these 5 schedules I'm throwing out between Memphis, New Orleans, Portland, Sacramento, and San Antonio. Portland can go 3-1 and maybe 4-0 in that stretch. Sacramento tonight in Memphis, home against Detroit, home against Washington, home against Philly. Win tonight, there could be a 3-1 in there for Sacramento and Coach Luke Walton. His dad last night on that Pac-12 game. Man, that guy is crazy, and I love him. And they were talking about Luke as a child last night. San Antonio, home against Orlando, home against Indiana, at Charlotte, at the Nets. That's pretty easy on paper. That could be a 4-0 in there. The Grizzlies are not going to be able to lose. The other teams aren't going to lose it to knock off this magic number. I've had a few clipped off this week. It's at 21 with some, 22 with others. They're going to have to win some games. But I think that number has moved down a little bit. Maybe 37, maybe 38 will get that last Western Conference playoff spot. What's it get you? It gets you 4-0 or 4-1 to the Lakers in the first round. But here it would sell some sizzle, sell some smoke, if you will, all the smoke for the Grizzlies.
You said if they make it to the playoffs against the Lakers, it'd be 4-1?
Lakers 4-1, 4-0.
4-0.
Yeah. And the two out there could be particular. If you didn't get game 3, it would be 4-0. It would either be 4-0 or the gentleman 4-1 sweep. When we come back, we'll talk the NFL labor deal. We'll talk some XFL, some wagering out there with Alan Bell from CBS Sports Line. He's next. You're listening to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1 FM.
Watch out now. Man, what kind of way is that to start a promo? We want to tell the people about R&R on Sports every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. here on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Watch out now.
Mid-South Power Distributors is your source for all things diesel. For more than 26 years, they've supplied all the diesel parts that you need. From simple repairs to complete overhauls, they have it all. Whether it's heavy, medium, light duty, agricultural, marine, or off-road, Mid-South Power is the leading source for all things diesel. Fuel injection, turbochargers, engine parts, alternators, starters, and brakes, they can supply all the parts and services you need. Stop in today at 3250 Mill Branch Road in Memphis or call 901-396-0710.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Your Memphis Tigers football program completed the greatest season in program history with 12 wins, a conference championship, and a berth in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. Season tickets for the 2020 season are on sale now and start at just $100 when you buy 4 in the Family Fun Zone or $150 for end zone seating. Get your season tickets by May 15th and receive a free gift, concessions deals, exclusive access to regular season and postseason tickets, and more. Get your season tickets today at GoTigersGo.com or call 901-678-2331. Memphis Tigers football.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Dave is traveling with the Tigers. He'll be back with us on Monday. Next Tiger game will be next Thursday night. That's 8 o'clock tip against Wichita State. That could mean a lot if the Tigers take care of business tomorrow night in New Orleans against the Green Wave of Tulane. Alan Bell from at Alan Bell 247 and from CBS Sportsline. He joins us next to talk about Tom Brady, the NFL labor deal, the combine in Indianapolis. I know he's been really aggravated with the Grizzlies lately being down 15 right out of the opening tip, and Alan Bell indeed joins us now from CBS Sportsline on Twitter at Alan Bell 247. Alan, the Grizzlies, they've been cruel to you, haven't they?
They have been, and it's so tough, of a team that's, sitting in the, in the 8th spot. Obviously they're dealing with some injuries and it's tough for them. You just hate to see it, and you want this team to play as well as they can. And, once they get fully healthy, they're going to be fine down the stretch. Just tough to see, when you see 15, 20, 25-point deficits. It's brutal to watch.
Out of the tip. I mean, it doesn't take long.
Yeah, I know. It's been tough, man. The last couple of games, it's been tough. So, everybody in Memphis hope they're, just holding tight. Team's going to get a little bit better.
Alan, I think I would rather be tortured than have to wager NBA over and unders on a nightly basis. It is uncanny how close. I mean, it is just not a big variance. I'm going to say plus or minus 4 or 5 where that total is going to fall night in, night out. Vegas has always had enormous respect for me, but how they peg those NBA totals, it's unbelievable.
Oh, it's tough. It's so tough, and especially, the last 2 minutes of the game, because essentially anything can happen. If you've got a team that's up, we'll use the Grizzlies in that example. If you've got a team that's down, say 10, 15, 20 points, somewhere in that range, you really don't know, what's going to happen in the last 2 minutes. The team could, just come out and just fire threes, or it could come out and essentially just kind of dribble the ball out. If you're talking about, total lines, and the difference between 1, 2, 3, 4 points, one possession really can change all of it. So yeah,
unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable. I know
they are that good, and you just you just never need to shortchange them, do you?
No.
They know what they're doing.
Never need to do that. No.
Tonight, the Grizzlies a slim 3-point favorite, 4-game losing streak with the injuries, but back at home. How do you feel about that tonight?
I think it'll be all right. I think it's, I think this is a game, kind of similar to what the Nashville Predators kind of dealt with last night. You know what? Let's just get ourselves back together. However we got to do it. Go out, get a win, get the starting five, playing its ball. In terms of right now, who's in the lineup, and just feeling good again. So we'll see. Hopefully, they can turn that thing around and just have a locker room that's probably, gets a chance to smile once in a while. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably been tough, a lot of, tough losses. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. Sure.
Both of my cohorts are away today. Dave's on the road with the Tiger men's basketball team for Tulane, and Drew Barrett is doing U of M softball today. Carl Marsh in with me, and Carl and I don't think we've ever had a hockey conversation. I wish they both were here, though, today, because, Alan, I took a gander at potential at National Hockey League playoff scenarios today. Am I correct? It would be the Preds maybe opening against the Blues?
Yeah, it would. As of right now, yes, correct.
Well, I wish they were here, and I could get that hockey talk credit from them. Alan Bell, our guest. Let's talk Tom Brady potentially in Nashville next year, wearing number 12 as a member of the Titans.
Yeah, so, I think, first off, we've got to see, if Tom Brady, is truly thinking about leaving New England, which I think that he is, you have to look around first and say, all right, Tom Brady wants to win. That's the impetus here of what he wants to do. And there's really only one team in the NFL that gives him that shot, and that's the Tennessee Titans. And, really the conversation with fans here has been, well, Tannehill played well. We don't want to pay Tom Brady $30+ million. Well, here's my thing. Tom Brady would leave New England because there's a lack of weapons and a lack of money to go acquire them. Why would he immediately leave, do all of that, to come to a team and demand top dollar so that they cannot go and re-sign and acquire top talent? So Tennessee really has the perfect leverage sales pitch in this of getting Tom Brady at the exact same price that they probably would Ryan Tannehill. You just have to convince Tom to leave New England. That's what you have to do.
How many Tom Brady jerseys would sell in the first hour in Nashville and across Tennessee?
Oh, the numbers would be insane. And I say this, one, because you'd have, so many fans, across the state of Tennessee, that would just instantly recognize him, right? And then two, you look at the last 14 years or so in terms of jersey sales, Tom Brady's number one seemingly every year. And the reason why it's so impressive is this. How many jerseys do you need to buy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how many do you have to buy? Once you buy one, you kind of have it. And for him to just continue to do it, it just shows, how strong his brand is, not only in the country, but globally. He's just he's a figurehead that's larger than the sport. And there aren't many people that are like that.
He is. And we know the not so good stories like Joe Namath, but Joe Montana, he made it work, got Kansas City to the AFC Championship game. Peyton made it plenty work in Denver. I mean, there's no qualifiers at all around Peyton in Denver. And there have been some others. Johnny Unitas as a Charger was a bad look.
Yeah, it's tough. It's always, hit or miss. And it's always weird, seeing, an icon, of those statures in another jersey. But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Tennessee. I'll say it right now. The Tennessee Titans have a much better roster than the New England Patriots. The Tennessee Titans are a better team than the New England Patriots. Like that. Yeah,
right now.
It's not even right now. Absolutely. And if you look at just the offensive weapons, it's not even close. Tennessee has so much more talent on the offensive side. So, I mean, I think that it would be something to where Brady could come in. Yeah, obviously, he played with the head coach. The general manager, John Robinson, was in New England's front office. There's multiple players here on the team, and Logan Ryan, Malcolm Butler, keep going down the list, that played in New England. And it really isn't that hard to get a Tom Brady offensive system going because you're essentially running a spread offense, and he doesn't have to throw it 40 times a game because you have the leading rusher in the NFL right behind him. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world for him to come here. You just have to convince him of that he truly does need to leave. I think that's the hardest part.
Now, how cruel would it be that if he leaves New England, but he doesn't come to Tennessee, but he comes to that division in Indianapolis with the Colts?
Well, wouldn't that be wild, right? To see, in 20 years, you see Peyton Manning and Tom Brady both wearing Colts uniforms.
Yeah, by the way, Andrew Luck. Yeah.
Exactly, right? I mean, I think that would be brutal for Tennessee. Now, the good thing, Tennessee has the ace in the hole, is that, if Tom Brady doesn't come, you got the quarterback that took you to the AFC Championship. So Tennessee's on the up and up no matter how this thing goes down. But if he goes to Indianapolis, that would be brutal for Tennessee. Just, the bugaboo that have been the Colts for 20 years, the streaks, the records that the Colts have had.
The heartbreak.
And essentially, it really would. It would just be tough because Indianapolis, while I don't think they're as good a team as Tennessee, they've got pieces out there for sure. And Tom Brady would make a significant difference for that team almost immediately.
And I think Frank Reich can really, really coach quarterbacks and that side of the ball. And, him in the comfortability with Tom Brady, I think would be very natural. Maybe a little bit like Josh McDaniels in New England. He's not going to have the run because he doesn't have the years left. It might be two years.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Frank Reich is an outstanding football coach, both in terms of what he can do as a head coach and like you said, just offensively. And you look at, their GM, Chris Ballard, he's outstanding. You look at the Colts, they've got about $90 million in cap space to spend. I mean, they have everything that Tom would want. And I'm with you. I mean, Frank Reich, you're going to get Brady for about 2 years, maybe 3 max, but that's probably pushing it. But man, I mean, you come in and say, hey, we're gonna spend this money right now. Let's go get who you want. Let's make a run of this thing. Colts have won Super Bowls before. They could do it again.
Alan Bell, our guest from CBS Sportsline. You can follow him on Twitter at AlanBell247. Alan, to the shock of nobody, to no one, in my opinion, the Players Association, they're gonna deal. They're gonna sign. They're gonna agree to the deal. It's gonna be 10 years. And for all the huffing and puffing that DeMaurice Smith did when he came in, and it offended me from this point of view, he floats in from the world of politics, from a presidential administration and campaign, but came in running down Gene Upshaw. Really some ugly things said about Gene Upshaw. Unleashed some really nasty dialogue about Gene Upshaw and him being kind of a puppet of the owners, and they're going to strike, and they're going to get this kind of deal and that kind of deal, and they've just played ball all along the way and getting ready to sign a 10-year deal that I don't think in 10 years will stand up very well.
Yeah, you know what? First off, I'm with you. In terms of whether you're running a union, for the NFL players, or you're running a political campaign, or you're just at work. Battling to get a promotion, right? Like, I don't want to hear the negativity about someone else. I want to hear the positivity about what you do, right? Like,
tell me what you're for, not what everybody else was against.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, tell me and show me, what you can do, and especially somebody like Gene Upshaw, who has the, just the respect, people and players, across that league. And look what, Smith has accomplished. Seemingly nothing.
Nothing.
Right? Like, I mean, he hasn't
I could have
anything
gotten him that deal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, seriously. Like, you seriously could have, because this is the first one that the NFL's offering, right? So I'm with you. It's going to go through. We might have, a couple, legalities, revised on, page 6, 12, 18, whatever. But, I mean, this thing's going to happen. The NFL has played this perfectly, as they always
won.
do in these.
They
have,
management usually does. Billionaires usually win over millionaires, and millionaires win over 100,000 Nares. It's Darwinism. I mean, it happens. But it really offended me how he would refer, and I'm not going to use the language and some of the connotations attached to Gene Upshaw, but Gene Upshaw played, bled, and sweat in that NFL. Man, he was out there when you had to have an off-season job.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like those guys literally had to have other jobs. You know what I mean? And I'm with you. You know, again, like. You know, me and you are very similar in the sense of, you know, I'm not out here to tear anybody down. You know, let's build up what we have to do and let's work together, you know, because that's how you truly are going to, you know, go to battle against the NFL. But of course not, you know, went the negative route. And, he's gotten accomplished absolutely zero of what he said he was going to do.
And really and truly with a 10-year deal, what do they need a director of the Players Association for?
Yep, yeah, you're exactly right. You know, and that's another thing, you know, that's not even being brought up. But I assure you, you know, the players you need to look at and say, well, if we're ever going to switch out, you know, and get a new leader, it's right now because we don't need a guy, you know, for 10 years. Nothing's going to happen. So this is the time to do it.
And as sure as the sun sets in the west, this moving to 17 games in a blink of an eye, it's going to be to 18 games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to happen because the NFL wants to have, you know, equal numbers, you know, in terms of, you don't want to have, you know, teams play 9 home games one year, 8 home games the next year. You know, it's absolutely going to happen because the TV money is everywhere where it's at. And for them to want to get to that $25 billion, you know, range of financiability, that's how they're going to have to do it. So you're exactly right.
One last thing for Alan Bell from CBS Sportsline, and you can follow him on Twitter at AlanBell247. XFL off to a good start. The ratings naturally have dipped some from the honeymoon first look at it, but holding up pretty good. And you have a connection to someone that is picking them. I think he's missed one.
Yeah. There's been 12 games so far this year, and our expert at Sportsline, RJ White, he's 11-1 against the spread. And I'll tell you, I mean, you know, it's amazing. And I'll tell you, you know, through conversation with him, you know, each week, you know, when we break down these games, I mean, you know, he's breaking these guys down, you know, like it's, you know, a Super Bowl. I mean, the guy's outstanding. There's a reason why he's doing well. And I'll say this, you know, for the XFL, yeah, the numbers dipped a little bit, but that's going to happen.
Sure.
You know, really the big thing is just continue to put out a good product, focus on having a good product, which I think that they do. And now is the time to really start marketing, you know, your players in your league, because that new car smell is going to, you know, wave off, you know, here pretty soon. So don't be surprised if you start seeing some advertisements, you know, some, you know, more written pieces, TV type pieces on some of these players, which I think is going to go over well. There's some good players in this league and they're doing a good job. So yeah, I'm excited. I hope that you know, it just continues to have success because I think it's good for everybody.
Alan Bell, enjoy the weekend. I would tell anybody that started 11-1 to quit.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, it's pretty tough to do better than that.
Have a great weekend, buddy, and keep up the good work. Thank you, man.
I appreciate it. You do the same, man. Thank you.
You got Alan Bell with us to talk a lot of things on the NFL and XFL and on some wagering. 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. First Bank only for the Germantown Commissary and the Collierville Commissary. Big cue of the day. I told you in the 3 o'clock hour, this is what it would be when I was talking about it then. And I asked this question, the Tigers tomorrow night at Tulane in the 21st century. How many times have the Tigers lost at Tulane in a game in Tulane? How many times have the Tigers lost in the 21st century? It hadn't been many, and we hope they don't add to it tomorrow night. That's the Germantown Commissary and the Collierville Commissary. Big cue of the day at 360-8255. How many times have the Tigers lost down at Tulane in this 21st century? Either place, the new Collierville Commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar, or the original in Germantown, Memphis-style barbecue and ribs, delicious and authentic Memphis-style great food. The Memphis way. Begin your barbecue feast with some great appetizers like the cheese plate or the tamales. You can go get those right now to watch the Grizzlies night, get plenty of food for tomorrow night to watch all the college basketball during the weekend. Start with the appetizers like the cheese plate, the tamales, the barbecue nachos, the smoked chicken wings. They are fantastic. Then dig into the ribs or the barbecue shoulder, get it chopped or pulled on a sandwich, a big sandwich, or you can get it on your plate. Don't forget about the Boss Man salad, the chicken platter, the barbecue shrimp, and the wonderful hot tamales dressed with chili cheese and fresh onions, and the best lemon icebox pie anywhere. Terrific banana pudding as well. 901-754-5540. Online at commissarybarbecue.com in Collierville and Germantown. Great party areas. We're getting ready to have some warm weather, and we can get out to those party areas. For any catering, for any tailgating, make the Germantown and Collierville Commissary your first stop for all your barbecue needs for this weekend and for any time. 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. How many times have the Tigers lost at Tulane in the 21st century? We'll get those answers when we return. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. You're on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 3. Here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Tiger Hoops fans have something extra to look forward to this coming March. Not only is it tournament time, but it's the opening of the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace Museum.
After Finch's two-pointer, Ronnie Robinson sank the shot that once again brought the two teams into a tie.
Come to the Pink Palace Museum this March and experience 100-plus years of Tiger men's and women's basketball, from their beginnings as the West Tennessee State Normal School to the present.
The Tigers are very much alive.
Don't miss the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace Museum, opening March 7th.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddick Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day. Group play and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
Yeah, so Aiden's coffee spot is really undope. They asked what they can get me, and I'm like, the code to the bathroom. Stop trying to sell me something.
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
Also, the Wi-Fi password was too hard to spell, and I can, totally spell stuff.
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial auto and business insurance.
They didn't have any cups out for the free cream, so I just drank it out of the pitcher.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We welcome you back. It's one of the surefire things in all of sports. The Tigers over Tulane, really anywhere they play. The Tigers 55-11 all time over Tulane. But the question for the Germantown commissary or Collierville commissary, big Q of the day, was how many times have they lost at Tulane in this, the 21st century? We go to the phones, and we go to Nico first. Nico, were you listening earlier when I said it, or did you know it?
I think I heard it earlier, and I think it's twice this century.
It is twice this century. Callers on hold, don't hang up because I'm going to have a special Friday surprise gift for you, maybe another trivia question for you, so don't hang up. Nico, it is one of the locks. They've only lost 3 times ever at home to Tulane, and only...
Well, shoot, I got to disagree. Nothing's a lock the way these refs are treating us this year.
What about the turnovers?
Well, yeah, those aren't pretty either.
They are. Nico, I'm going to put you on hold. You win the big Q of the day, the six-pack to the Germantown commissary. We go to Rick. Rick, what were you going to say? What answer was yours? Rick, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What was your answer?
Oh, my answer was 2.
Well, Rick, I'm a special Friday afternoon Santa Claus effect. You're going to win as well. How about that?
Oh, thank you so much.
Tulane's been a easy one for the Tigers. First played them in 76, 77. I'm going to guess that was the first year of the Metro.
The first year of the what?
Of the Metro Conference back in 76, 77.
Yeah, that's right.
Rick, you win. I'm going to put you on hold. You get a 6-pack of barbecue at the Germantown or Collierville commissary as well. Tomorrow night for the Tigers, just win by 1. Cannot afford a loss. Ron Hunter's team improved. They made the move from Mike Dunleavy to Ron Hunter. They are improved, but Tigers should win quite easily tomorrow night and stay for now in that 6th spot. I mentioned earlier that would be the last game of the first day at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth at the American Athletic Conference Tournament. If they move to the 5, that's about the best they can do. I don't think the Tigers can get in. I don't think they can get into the bye into the 4 seed and just start conference play on Friday. The 5 game will be the afternoon game, the 2 o'clock, the second game of the first day, the 2 o'clock game. That'll tip about 2:20. As we know, none of these schedules run on time. I don't even know why they do it to list a 12 noon start and then a 2 o'clock start, because you know it's not going to go off with that efficiency almost anywhere in any league. About the only games you know will start right on time is the first game of the morning session and the first game of the night. And I've even seen the second afternoon game push the first night game into a later time with a bunch of overtimes. Nothing like the Big East overtimes that time with Syracuse and UConn in 2009. Was that it, when they had all those overtimes and played well into the night and the morning in the Big East tournament? UConn going to the Big East, and I know they're glad to do that. They really miss that Madison Square Garden assemblage of those teams. I can't blame them. I don't know, other than that first year of 2014 in the AAC, that they were really ever content or happy or wanted to be here. They missed their old conference mates, and they missed that the old BCS qualifier in football that they once made it to a Fiesta Bowl. So they really came out on the wrong side of conference realignment. Unlike a team like Rutgers, they're on a lot of bracketologist bubbles this weekend. The bubble is really, really soft. It's hard to believe some of these teams are in conversation for still being in the NCAA tournament consideration. Arkansas, I know they had the injury, but I don't think they're very good. I don't think the Tigers are very good. Neither one of those teams, Arkansas or the Tigers, are bad. I just don't think they're very good. And it's one of my sermonettes every year about bubble and are you in or are you out. There's going to be 68 teams in that tournament. I don't know if it's deserving or not, but they're going to have that many. Georgetown still in the conversation by a lot of people. I think they're on the next 4 out for our friend Shelby Mast at bracketwag.com. They've got a big one tomorrow against Xavier. For Razorback and Memphis fans, you got to be watching these out-of-town scoreboards, not just you winning your game, but you need a little help. Everybody's got to be pulling against Texas right now on the road tomorrow at Texas Tech, a Final 2 team last year. Got to the national finals last year and lost a heartbreaker to UVA. They're Texas Tech probably in, and they can keep Texas out. Speaking of Texas, is Shaka Smart out? And if he is, would Chris Beard be interested? Everybody's always said that's had any relationship at all with him, that was always his dream jobs. Well, dreams can change, and he could stay at Lubbock or maybe make the move to Austin. 1 hour to go on this Friday afternoon, on this the last work day of February. When we return, we talk college basketball with Drew DeArmond, particularly Auburn and Kentucky. That's next. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7 and 96.1.
Farmers Insurance knows that there's a not-so-subtle difference between the sound of a car hitting your rear bumper and the sound of a clown car hitting your rear bumper.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Sorry about that.
We call that a 3-ring fender bender, and we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent.
They know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you. Lads, up your life with Lads.
Spring is almost here, and this is the perfect time to visit Lads of Memphis for all your golf cart and lawn tractor needs. Visit their open house on Saturday, March 7th, and check out the new Spartan mowers and current promotions. Test drive a new Club Car Onward golf cart and spin the prize wheel for a chance to win up to $500 in Lads credit.
Lads, up your life with Lads. Lads, up your life.
I was just looking at Central Barbecue's website, eatcbq.com, and in their catering section, it says that there is no maximum amount of people that they can serve at an event.
So?
Somebody should test this.
Test what?
They say they can literally cater any amount of people.
Yeah, I'm sure they can. Central Barbecue's catering is a machine. I've used them dozens of times.
But have you ever tried to use them for a really big event?
Yes.
No, I mean a really big event.
Like what?
I'm thinking some fat cat rich guy should feed an entire Grizzlies game Central Barbecue.
Fat cat? Did you just come here from the 1920s?
I'm just saying somebody should really put Central Barbecue to the test.
You do realize you work for Central Barbecue.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also keep up to date with everything going on by keeping up with Sports 56 on social media. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch for information on breaking news, chances to win prizes, and video of all the shows. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 on social media. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Dave will be back in here on Monday, as will Drew. Drew is doing softball with Tyler Springs. Dave on his way to Tulane for Tigers and Tulane tomorrow night. Carl Morris, appreciate your good work today. 1 hour to go on this Friday afternoon. We'll start it momentarily with Drew Darman from Huntsville. We'll talk a little Alabama spring football, Auburn spring football, Bama basketball, and Auburn and Kentucky tomorrow night. After I tell you, tomorrow afternoon at 2:45 on CBS, after I tell you more about our sponsor this hour, and that's DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road at 5704 Goodman Road. Visit them online at DeSotoAutoSales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area. DeSoto Auto Sales, they specialize in late model cars with low mileage, very high standards at DeSoto Auto Sales. All the cars checked out head to toe, bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, every make, every model at DeSoto Auto Sales. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales. You walk in, you're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid back down home environment, no high pressure sales. But they do know that we're living in the world today that time really matters, and they want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience. Exactly what is that? You walk in, within 45 minutes, they will have you test drive your car, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're out of there in time to go by on your lunch hour or immediately after work. 45 minutes. They know we're living in a world today that time matters. It's that simple at DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. We go to Huntsville, to the Rocket City, and visit with our friend Drew Darman from the ESPN station 97.7 in Huntsville, and we want to cover a bunch of subjects. But I'm going to start, believe it or not, Drew, I'm going to start with football. Breaking news. Those Alabama wide receivers are really fast.
Yes, they are, Brett. And speaking of family, it's always great to be back on with my football brother in Memphis. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Henry Ruggs, I was a little off in my prediction. I thought he would run a 4.25. He ran a 4.27.
Come on, Drew.
I thought he would vertical. I thought he would vertical over 40 inches. He did. He's a freak athlete, but he's a football player too, Brett. And he has really good hands. He just shared the football with Jerry Jeudy, who runs a 4.46. Jalen Waddle, who I think will be a first rounder next year when he comes out, and then the same way with Devontae Smith. It's the best foursome I've ever seen on one football team. They're so talented, and I think Henry, he almost came back to school, but he probably made the right decision. I mean, he's certainly testing off the charts. I think he's going to continue to do that. He's also, I think, a good character kid. I think he's a top 15 pick in the first round. He can blow the top off of a defense, and I know he measured 5'11", but he can play the slot. He can also make a lot of plays in the return game as a kickoff returner, and he was a good gunner as well. So I think he's a well-rounded football player. I think his best football is still ahead of him because you got to understand when he was at Robert E. Lee High School, he thought of himself as a basketball player. And if you've seen any social media, Twitter and YouTube, he's a really good basketball player on the high school court. But football was his ticket. I mean, they convinced him to come back out when he was a junior, and it was the right move. And I think he and Jerry Jeudy, I think Jeudy is an outstanding route runner, can run the entire, he can cover the route tree. I think that, he can play inside, he can play outside. I think he's a guy that could go in the top 10 perhaps. And I just think both those guys are headed for bright days in the NFL.
All four of those Bama guys also, you all the exploits that you just highlighted, they're all pretty good blockers and took a lot of pride in it that if they didn't make that block on the edge for either a Tua run or a tailback run or a bubble screen to one of their other cohorts, they had a high bar from that front in that receiving room.
No question, and they're unselfish because Jalen Waddle did not get as many touches last year. Brett, he had to kind of wait his turn, but you saw what he did in the Iron Bowl. If Alabama had won that game, which they should have, they had the 2 pick sixes and gave away some points, but it would have been one of the all-time performances. It still is, but when you lose the football game, sometimes it's forgotten. But Jalen Waddle was tremendous in that game as a returner and as a receiver. He put on a freak show, and I think he kind of told you what could be to come this season. So coming up, in 2020. So very excited about him. Very excited that Devontae Smith decided to come back. I mean, he's a 1,200-yard receiver. How he wasn't a finalist, for the Biletnikoff, I don't know what people were watching. No disrespect to the other 3 finalists, But, everybody talks about, the young man Stingley from LSU, and he was the best freshman corner in the country, except for when he played against Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
He saw his backside the whole game. So, but again, he'll get his opportunity this year as a senior. But really interested to see this quarterback battle with Mac Jones and Bryce Young and Talia Tagovailoa in the spring practice. As you know, Brett, Alabama announced today, Friday, March the 13th, is going to be the first day of spring football.
And it will be a very anticipated. Now, the A-Day game, only half the stadium will be open as the deadline looms for getting the stadium ready, really over a 2-year process, but most of the work done this year. Let's stay with the Iron Bowl, and let's talk about some Auburn guys at the Combine, also really impressing, and no shocker, Davidson and Brown. Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown. Marlon Davidson, I think, is as good as Brown, but Brown will probably go first. Only thing about those guys and about Kevin Steele and his new deal, how are they so good and gave up so many points?
Yeah, I think they had some issues in the back end, and Auburn's had some issues in the secondary for a few years now. As you would know, with Wesley McGriff being on that coaching staff, no disrespect, but
well, it might be
Derek
a little.
Brown is, yeah. Well, Derek Brown, certainly, I think a top 10 pick. I would expect him to be a 10-year pro if he's healthy.
Me too.
He's a man.
He sure is.
He's such I think he has a great attitude as well. Marlon Davidson did the smart thing coming back to school. To me, he'll probably be a second-round pick, but he could be someone that's going to help you probably start as a rookie still and be a high-character guy that could play 8 to 10 years. I think both of those are very low-risk draft picks and got bright futures for Auburn. There is no doubt about that. And them replacing those guys, and they went the junior college route with that recruiting class, is going to be very important as they start spring football next month, Brett. No question about it. And, of course, Chad Morris. Is he actually going to call the plays?
No.
Is the offense going to be different?
Yes.
Is the tight end going to be involved? We've heard all this for years, and we'll see if Gus Malzahn actually relents to his good friend Chad Morris. I think he won't be able to help himself, but we'll
He never
see.
can.
But certainly Auburn has got a good roster coming back.
Now, one thing he has, and all credit to him, they did win the Iron Bowl in a thrilling manner. I don't really like 48, 45 games, but that was some game to sit there and watch. And it was a lot of Auburn voodoo, as it usually is at Jordan-Hare, to their favor. That's why they call it the home field advantage. But no quarterback battle at Auburn. It's Bo Nix's time.
It is. Bo, made some strides last year. He's going to have to, to me, make the next step to playmaker because I think in some ways, he was a little bit up and down, but that's to be expected for a guy that was just out of high school. I thought he did some good things. Of course, they're going to have to improve the receivers around him. I still have doubts about that supporting cast. Now we know Boobie Whitlow has moved on, and we'll see where that takes their running back room. I know that they still think it's very talented, and we'll see. I think they have some guys that can play. I don't know if they have anyone that's a game breaker that Gus Malzahn has been used to, because now that's 2 straight years they haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher. And then their offensive line has got to be completely rebuilt. And once again, they went the junior college route for that. Now they've made a change to Bicknell as the offensive line coach. So I think the offense, as far as staff, is being heavily influenced by Chad Morris, and it better work. Or if not, the proverbial hot seat seems to follow Gus Malzahn around.
But he always seems to get off of it. We're visiting with Drew DeArmond from Huntsville from 97.7, the ESPN station. He covers all things Crimson Tide, all things Auburn, all things SEC, and does it very, very, very well. Tomorrow afternoon, 2:45, Rupp Arena, rematch between Bruce Pearl and John Calipari. No love lost there. Bruce Pearl got him at Auburn Arena. Tomorrow should be fun at Rupp. Again, no love lost.
Not at all from Bruce's days at Tennessee. John Calipari trying to win another SEC regular season championship. I think it's one of his better coaching jobs. I think he should be on the short list for Coach of the Year.
I agree.
This is because of the improvement of Nick Richards and Emmanuel Quigley, who may be Player of the Year. He's coming off a 30-point game at Texas A&M. But this is an opportunity for Auburn to sweep Kentucky, Brett. Who could have thought that? Now, last 2 years we've seen Auburn win an SEC regular season championship, an SEC tournament. go to the first Final Four in the history of the state of Alabama, and then, of course, Auburn history. Now they could add sweeping Kentucky. We'll see if that happens. But, they'll have Isaac Okoro back. He's their best player. He has played his way probably to a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. So he's extremely important. When you saw him out of the lineup, Auburn is nowhere near the same team. But I still like Kentucky in this matchup. I mean, and I'm not being disrespectful. It's just a fact. When you go to Rupp, it's more like 8-on-5. You have to play out of your mind to win. You have to play at a very high level up and down your roster. Auburn is capable of doing that, but I think Kentucky's ready for this. I like Kentucky in the game. I think Kentucky, if they could win out, could reach as high as the 2 line, and I mean also the SEC tournament. So I will say, for the first time in many years, I think the SEC tournament's wide open. There's not a lot of margin for error for this Kentucky team. They don't shoot it really well from 3 most of the time, so they could be had maybe in the semifinals or finals. So it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't win it, and that it's going to be a battle of a lot of bubble teams. The SEC a little down this year, but still a very good league. But it's going to be a heck of an atmosphere at Rupp. But I think Kentucky, with Quigley playing the way he is, if Richards can outplay Wiley, I think Kentucky this time it could go their way in the rematch.
Next to last weekend of the regular season, and for it to be the next to last Saturday, only one more Saturday after tomorrow. This schedule tomorrow, Drew, we mentioned the big game on CBS at 2:45, Auburn and Kentucky, but the rest of it, A&M at LSU. I'm going to Vandy and Ole Miss, the battle for between 13 and 14. Florida at Tennessee, State at Mizzou, Arkansas at Georgia, and then probably the second best game of the day behind Auburn at Kentucky is South Carolina at Bama. South Carolina, they're still pretty much alive, kind of alive on the bubble. Bama probably not after the loss of the night, but this is not a fantastic schedule with 1 week to go.
It's not, but Alabama with an opportunity to get a win at home. They need to win out and probably win at least 2 games in Nashville to give themselves a chance to get back in the conversation. But they've lost 94 games to injury, probably the most in the country, and they will be without John Petty. It's not completely been ruled out, but it's very unlikely he plays. He's got a strained ligament in his elbow. I was told it was hyperextended a couple of days ago by our good friend Cecil Hurt. It was not a dislocation, but yet another, no pun intended, bad break for Alabama. John Petty was off to a great start in Starkville. He looked like he was going to be headed for maybe a 25, 30-point night. And with the way Kyra Lewis has been playing, I think Alabama would have had a great chance to get a road win. They competed hard, didn't pull it out again, Brett. But I think the future is very bright with Nate Oates. They've had good luck against South Carolina and Frank the Tank, but Frank's team is, coming off of an overtime home win against Georgia. It's going to be a tough one for Alabama if Petty's not in the lineup. They're going to have to find a way to manufacture some paint touches of production from Alex Reese, Galen Smith, certainly, and Javian Davis. If they do that like they did against Ole Miss, they've got a chance to win at home. But it's going to be difficult, and they need, of course, good performances from Jaden Shackelford, one of the best freshmen in the SEC, and Kyra Lewis.
Do you think this system that Nate Oates, almost kind of the small ball, Houston Rockets, Tora, let the threes fly, do you think it can work?
I do. I really enjoy the style. It reminds me of Lyle Marymount Light.
Yeah.
Because I do think they try to go inside a little bit more and at least be a little physical and play some defense. It's just he's got some square peg, round hole issues with the roster because of the injuries and because of not having probably enough talent inside. I think when they get a little more talented inside, they will make a more of a concerted effort to go inside. But I think, when their best players are guards. Kyra Lewis is an NBA early entry candidate. I think he and John Petty both need to come back to school. They both improved a lot this year, but they had 2 years, and both of them, and I should say for Kyra 1 year, John 2, of a lack of development under Avery Johnson, who's a great guy but had an NBA mentality and didn't really know how to run a college program. I really think when I've watched this and watched Coach Nate Oates work with this group, and I've followed it closely since the days of Wimp Sanderson in my youth, I think Nate Oates is the best coach since Wimp Sanderson. He demands a lot. He doesn't make any excuses. When they lost the game to Mississippi State, he said basically if we make layups, if we make free throws, we still win the game. and it's not going to change until we get in the gym and put in the work. So I like his approach, Brett. I think it can work. He just needs some more talent and depth, and that'll come with guys getting healthy and adding probably a combo guard and a big in the late signing period.
And what he runs into, every Alabama coach forever runs into the football monster. And this week, even at this time of year of college basketball, the biggest news out of Tuscaloosa was the Scott Cochran exit to Georgia. No surprise that Kirby Smart went after him. I think he'd been after him for years. I think Coach Lane Kiffin was after him and maybe even wanted to maybe make him an on-field coach and move him out of strength and conditioning. Valuable piece to the Alabama dynasty that's been built. Want to give him all the credit. He deserves it. He was an integral piece. The players responded to him. He probably did things that so many of us will never, ever know about. But I love the people out there thinking that this is going to be the fall of Coach Nick Saban. He is the common denominator, and as long as he's at Tuscaloosa, Alabama football is going to be in good shape.
And usually he's always a step or two ahead. Certainly,
R3.
They've had issues, finding a defensive line coach since Bo Davis left, and Carl Dunbar went back to the NFL. The last 2 years, Craig Guliagowski didn't work. Neither did Brian Baker. But I think Freddie Roach is a good hire. You're very familiar with him at Ole Miss. And I think Scott Cochran, he had been adamant the last couple of years he wanted to move on the field. Nick Saban, it reminds me when Sal Sunseri was in his first tenure at Alabama. He wanted to be the defensive coordinator, and Nick Saban basically told him, Coach, you're the best pass rush guy I've ever had. You do a great job with my outside backers, but you're not a defensive coordinator. Coach Sal was frustrated. He went to Tennessee with Derek Dooley. We know how that turned out. Now he's back at Alabama doing what he does best. Coach Scott Cochran, we'll see. He's never been anything but a strength guy. He wanted to expand his and take his career in a different path. But I think Nick Saban, with once again, he's ahead of the game in facilities. They've got part of that, what you were talking about with the stadium expansion. They've got a sports science center for athletes that's getting ready to open. And from what I'm hearing the last few days, he and Scott Cochran didn't really agree on some of the tweaks that Coach Saban wanted to see with the strength program. He really wanted to see them go in a different direction, more toward the nutrition aspect and the sports science aspect. Maybe there was a little bit of conflict there, so it was probably good for both parties. Coach Cochran did a great job for 13 years, but I think Nick Saban, much like he did with Lane Kiffin coming in, he changed his offense. He's also changed the way he recruits on defense to get, faster guys that can run sideline to sideline and cover in space. I think he's kind of trying to tweak his the strength and conditioning program, because we've seen Alabama have injuries the last 2 or 3 years. So maybe it'll work out for both parties. But I certainly would not underestimate Nick Saban with this move. I think Chris Dawson of Kansas State and David Ballou of Indiana, they have been on campus the last 2 days, are the front runners right now for that job. And I think that will be decided next week. And as the fourth quarter program rolls on and Alabama opens spring practice in just a couple of weeks.
We know opening day, we mentioned earlier that Bo Nix at Auburn, opening day against Alcorn State, in week 2 in Atlanta against North Carolina, in week 3 when the Tigers come to Oxford, and I'll see them in Oxford against Ole Miss. It's going to be Bo Nix in there unless something bad happens, and sure don't want that to happen. I liked his dad as a player, and I liked how he improved last year. I'll bet you a Coca-Cola. Tell me who's going to be the opening day quarterback for Alabama against Southern Cal, and I'll ask you that again at SEC Media Days.
Well, I'd say right now, since I haven't seen him practice in a scrimmage and I haven't seen him in person, I've only watched film, and I'm hearing great things. He's already up to 190-plus pounds, gaining 15 since early enrolling in January. Bryce Young will push, but I'm going to go with Mac Jones to start the season. I think Mac, 15 touchdowns, 3 picks. I thought he did a very good job when he prepared for a start this past year. He did struggle coming off the bench against Mississippi State when Tua was injured, but when he was able to prepare, he did very well. He certainly played well enough to win the Auburn game. I thought he played well in the bowl game against Michigan. I think with the weapons around him, he can succeed, but Bryce Young will play. He's a unique athlete. He's a unique talent. I can't wait to see him in his first scrimmage inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. I know when I saw Tua 3+ years ago, that I felt like he was special. And I knew he wouldn't start because of what Jalen had done the year before. but I felt like eventually he was going to be the guy. That's what happened. Tua's going to be, I think, a top 3 pick now. We'll see if Bryce is that kind of talent. We certainly hear that, but don't underestimate Mac Jones. I think he's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts was. I'll just say that on your show. Jalen was a good player. I think Mac Jones is a better passer, and I think he's a really good fit with what Steve Sarkisian's going to do.
Great player, and everybody's going to be over the summertime into media days and into fall predictions. Everybody's going to be trying to find the Joe Burrow kind of a good player, but nobody's seeing almost 60 touchdowns and walking off with the biggest landslide in Heisman history. And people are only going to hear half of what I'm saying about this. I'm not predicting that Mac Jones is going to be that, but he fits that template. I'll tell you another guy that fits it nationally. Ian Book at Notre Dame fits it a little bit.
Yeah, he's another guy that has kind of been underestimated. He's not the prettiest kid. He's mobile, but he's not a Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have a cannon, but he's very heady. He's a guy that beat out someone in Wimbush that was thought to have more talent, who ended up at UCF. And Brian Kelly is an outstanding offensive coach.
Look at those wins the last 4 years for Notre Dame. They've won a lot of football games.
They have, and if Notre Dame can fly under the radar and be a college football playoff contender late in the season, with the Notre Dame mystique still and the name brand and that brand, certainly in Book could make some noise.
Now, all people heard is that we said, the guy from Huntsville and Brett said that Ian Book or Mac Jones will win the Heisman.
Of course. It'll get twisted around, man. It always does, but it's great conversation. And
it is.
And, we're all looking forward to SEC Media Days in July already. I know that.
I know I am. Drew, enjoy the basketball this weekend, and we'll probably have to catch up with you a time or two during the tournament. I think Auburn I don't know if they can do what they did last year, but this time last year I didn't think they were getting ready to do that. They could again, maybe not as great at point guard this year as last year, but it'll be fun. We'll have to catch up and see how Alabama's doing if they have a good last 2 weeks. Thank you, Drew. We really appreciate it.
And, Brett, I'll tell you, I'm in Birmingham right now at the state Final Four high school state championships, and they need to check out my Twitter account at DrewD977ESPN. I saw a truly great player this afternoon, or this morning, I should say, J.D. Davison. Remember that name. He is a junior. He is a guard. He is the best athlete coming out of this state since Gerald Wallace on a basketball court. He made a three this morning from the top of the key. It was just like Jimmy Chitwood and Hoosiers, and I mentioned it in the press conference. He dribbled out the final minute. He pulled up, stepped back from the top of the key, all net with 1.1 seconds to go. And for the fourth time and first time since 2003, the Calhoun Tigers win the 2A state championship, 64-61 over heavy favorite Barber County. It was a game for the ages.
Good stuff. And you compare anybody to Childersburg, Alabama's Gerald Wallace, he can really go. That's some compliment. Drew, thank you, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Brett.
You got it. Drew Darman talking football with us. He talks ball in Huntsville. Love having him on with us. Nobody loves their customers more than our friends at All-Star Chevrolet. If you could love a new Chevy right now, Olive Branch is where you want to be. All the deals that you'll love. New 2020 Silverados with 0 for 72 financing, plus thousands in customer cash. 0 for 72 with the new 2020 Equinox, plus thousands in cash when you finance with GM. Chevy keeps getting the awards, and awards mean a lot, like the new Corvette Stingray, the 2020 North American Car of the Year. Head to Olive Branch and drive a new All-Star Chevy today. Drive them all. Remember, not the Pike, not Mount Moriah, not Collierville, not South Haven. It's got to be Olive Branch. Everybody at All-Star Chevy, they've got one job, just one job. Make sure you get a better deal, have more fun, and do it in a record time. If you could love a new Chevy right now, maybe a new Silverado, then you need to find new roads to All-Star Chevy in Olive Branch, or go to allstarautogroup.com today. When we come back, more college basketball, a little bit of the national perspective from Blake Lovell from Clutch Points app and Blue Ribbon Magazine. He also does Marching to Madness podcast and Locked on the SEC podcast. We talk the college basketball bubble scene with Blake Lovell next. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Carl Morris, producing with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
On your phone or tablet, download our official Sports 56 app today.
I'm here with Robert Cox, kitchen manager of the Rendezvous Restaurant. Tell us about those great ribs at the Rendezvous.
Rendezvous stands alone in a unique barbecue style, only found in Memphis, Tennessee. We don't smoke our ribs, we char-broil them. The guys cooking our ribs have been doing it for 30 years. Mr. Charlie Virgos taught the guys the technique himself, and still to this day, they teach newcomers that come in the door. After our ribs come out the pit, we pre-cut every order, so you easily can tear them apart. We baste our ribs on a plate and sprinkle our seasoning all over them.
So, Robert, are ribs what everyone comes to the Rendezvous for?
The beef brisket is now our second best seller behind the ribs. We also have lamb riblets, half chicken, pork shoulder, chopped chicken, cheese and sausage plate. Nachos are fantastic. We also carry a Greek salad. The list goes on.
Robert, where can we find out more about all of these great options?
Our restaurant menu is online at hogsfly.com, and recently we just added our catering menu online.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous Restaurant, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis, in the alley since 1948.
Lads, up your life with Lads.
Spring is almost here, and this is the perfect time to visit Lads of Memphis for all your golf cart and lawn tractor needs. Visit their open house on Saturday, March 7th, and check out the new Spartan mowers and current promotions. Test drive a new Club Car Onward golf cart and spin the prize wheel for a chance to win up to $500 in Lads credit.
Lads, up your life with Lads. Lads, up your life.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Dave will be back with us on Monday. A lot of college basketball this weekend. Again, tomorrow in the SEC, A&M at LSU at 11, Vandy at Ole Miss at noon, and Florida at Tennessee. That's at 1 o'clock. Mississippi State at Mizzou at 2:30. Auburn at Kentucky, the big featured CBS game at 2:45. Arkansas at Georgia at 5. South Carolina at Bama tomorrow night at 7:30. Frank Martin in that one. He's a really wound tight guy. But the other night watching his team play, he gets into his guys so hard, it's a little uncomfortable. You think we're getting ready to have an incident. How he gets on his guys, man, he must have established a great relationship with them to be able to coach them like that, because you just don't see it like that very much anymore. And it's a little uncomfortable how he lays into them, and you think just any second you're going to see that incident of that player respond of, I've had enough of this and not take it anymore. Tomorrow in the AAC, UConn at ECU at 1, UCF at Tulsa at 5, Memphis at Tulane tomorrow night at 7. That's one we'll be watching. Then on Sunday afternoon, South Florida at Temple. That's an 11 o'clock game Sunday morning. The best game of the weekend in the American, Cincinnati at Houston. Cincinnati probably they need it more than Houston at 2 o'clock on Sunday. And at 3 o'clock on Sunday, Wichita State at SMU. From Clutch Points app, from Blue Ribbon Magazine, Marching to Madness podcast, Locked on the SEC podcast. Boy, Blake, your introduction getting longer and longer every year. Blake Lovell joins us now, and good afternoon to you. This is a very important weekend in college basketball, as that last 4 teams in every bracket you look at, it's from a pool of about 12 to 16 teams.
Yeah, it is, Brett. There are a lot of them that are kind of in very similar scenarios, and that's why people keep asking, what does my team have to do to get in? I'm like, well, I don't know. It depends on what the other 15 teams do, because that's probably going to matter just as much in a season like this than it is what you do yourself, probably.
And important for SEC teams, the biggest thing is win and then scoreboard watch. And I think first and foremost, it's probably Arkansas, or is it Mississippi State?
Yeah, it seems like it changes every day. I think Arkansas, people keep asking, if you had to pick one of the 4 right now that you think could get in, of that group of Arkansas, Mississippi State, Alabama, and South Carolina, I just tend to lean towards Arkansas, because what they do have going for them is a decent schedule the rest of the way. I mean, they've got to go to Georgia and A&M, 2 teams that are playing a lot better, but they get that home game against LSU. And I think even if they go 2-1 in these last three, and let's say they lose the game against LSU, I still think they're in a good spot because the committee's going to look at them and see what they did, without Isaiah Joe, and then he comes back, and let's say they go 4-1 or 5-0. I think in that spot they would be looked at as a team that's going to have a really good chance to get in. Probably would still need to win the first round of the SEC tournament, but they'd be in a really good spot. And then I think, for Mississippi State, it's the same. It's just winning games, and it's the same scenario for Alabama and South Carolina. Every game going forward, I think for probably everyone but Arkansas, and I think it has to be that LSU game, is going to be pretty much a must-win game for all four of these teams.
If you had to vote today, who would be your national coach of the year?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I think you would have to put I think you have to put Anthony Grant in that category. Look, there's a lot of good options. I've always said Scott Drew is the most underrated coach in college basketball. So for me, I think a year like this sort of proves what's been a common theme for me just watching him over the years. So there's no doubt that Scott Drew has to be in there. Brian Dutcher, San Diego State, of course. There's a lot of, I think, really good options, even when a year like this where there's been more parity. But I would probably start, honestly, with that trio, looking at Baylor, Dayton, and San Diego State.
That's a good place to start. And the Anthony Grant story, and we've referenced it a couple times this week. We just had a more Alabama-centric guest on the football monster, and a lot of people hadn't been able to make it work at Alabama. And Anthony Grant, what a redemption story. Last year, Virginia had the team redemption story. This year, the coaching redemption story could be Anthony Grant at a Final Four.
Yeah, no, it could. And there were a lot of people, after he left Alabama, there was a common thing I heard, and it was, look, I think that was more about, sometimes it's just not the right fit. And sometimes it's hard to win. At Alabama in basketball, he's not the first, coach, a good coach that's come in there and not been able to win consistently. Yeah, and there's been a lot of them that haven't. And so they sort of said, ever since he was, and we remember back, he was with Billy Donovan, and all those years, he was seen as that guy that was really going to eventually be one that you looked at and said, okay, he could potentially be one of the best coaches in the country. And a lot of people believe that, even after the Alabama stint. There were a lot of people that thought if he can just find the right fit, he could pretty much show why everyone thinks he's as good as he is. And so, it is. It's one where I'm glad it's worked out for him there. And there's no doubt that he's in a great spot, and he does. They are a potential Final Four team, and I don't think there's any doubt about that.
He won't be National Coach of the Year, but I think you could probably save the money on the postage mailing out the ballots. Coach of the Year in Pac-12, Mick Cronin.
Yeah, and that's funny. I was just talking to somebody about that today. It is incredible to think that, you look at this team, and we, when he got hired there, it was one where a lot of people – look, when we remember the circus that was surrounding.
Sure, Rick Barnes primary in that.
Yeah, it was Jerry Dixon, there was Rick Barnes, and then everybody's like, well, why don't they go after Bruce Pearl? And you just go up and down the list, and it seems like finally everyone just sort of said, oh, well, they're hiring Mick Cronin as their whatever option at this point. How is that going to work out? And I think you look at it, and what an unbelievable job he's done. Really since probably mid-January. They have just looked like a completely different team. And based on how they started, you go back to non-conference play, they've lost several home games, and to see where they are now, definitely very, very impressive.
Who could be this year's Auburn, both in the SEC and nationally, that nobody counting on them getting to the Final Four? A disputed call. They probably should have been playing on Monday night. Who could be some of those teams that right now we're discounting them, but in a month we could be talking about them in Atlanta?
Yeah, and I think it's probably honestly hard to find one in the SEC this year. If Alabama had stayed healthy, I think with their playing style, they're not the exact same as Auburn was last year, but you think with how unique they play and their ability to hit threes, I think you could have thrown them in the mix a couple weeks ago. But with John Petty injured and all that, I don't know if they could even be a team that's considered that at this point, because they might not even get in. Beyond that, like we said, there's a lot of these teams, and really, the group keeps growing. I think of teams that you look at and say, well, I can see that team making a run, and there's lots of teams that you can point out. And I think just sort of looking at it, when you look at all, I think honestly, actually have a couple of those teams in terms of, and I've been one of those two on the Pac-12 where it's just, you look at sort of their their recent history, and it's been hard to look at some of these teams and say, man, I could trust this team or that team. But, there are a couple teams, I think, in the Pac-12 you look at and say any of that group at the top, they may not necessarily be viewed as teams that you would think are going to, let's say, be ahead of some of these Big Ten type teams. But, I mean, there are some sneaky good teams in the Pac-12, and it's one we have this conversation every year. I know a lot of people on the East Coast don't get to watch, a lot of Pac-12 games, but, you look at that top tier, now we mentioned UCLA's joined that category. Teams like that, I mean, and they might not even get in, but there's still a lot of teams in there, I think, that could give people fits just based on how far they've come. I mean, you look at all of it. I mean, Colorado, I think, is the perfect example of that.
They scared me a little last night.
Yeah. Teams. Yeah, and that's what I mean. There are some teams to keep an eye on, I think, in there, and that's one where, man, I don't know. And, listen, while we're on that, Mark Fox, my goodness, what a job he's done this year with Cal, because that program was at the bottom.
At the bottom in Cal with the upset last night. Scared me a little bit with Colorado on that end of that. I think maybe one of those Auburn surprise teams this year, to be that team this year, could it be Andy Enfield and USC?
Yeah, that's another one too, because they're one, and they're kind of a team I think you look at, and I mean, look, he's gotten, we know, I mean, it's been sort of, is it going to work out there for him? And they've started better. I think they started to figure some things out. I mean, they still haven't won some of these games. Probably they feel like they should. They lost some close games on the road, but that's really nothing unusual for teams. And I think that's something too we have to look at this year, where we discount some of these teams that don't play as well on the road, or they lose some of these close games on the road, and say, well, you have to be able to win away from home to make a run in the NCAA tournament. And I get that, but really, if we look up and down the line, I mean, a lot of teams are doing that this year, and that's why I think it's maybe not as huge a deal, because you can make the same statement about a lot of these teams that are even, top 25 level teams, where you say, well, they're pretty good, but they just aren't playing well away from home. Well, if that's the case for a lot of teams, then I think that opens it up even more this year.
And I've been pretty tough on the American Athletic Conference this year, and Dave, in his absence, Dave is not. He has not defended it vociferously. He thinks it's a little better than I'm giving it, but not a lot better. I just don't see any teams with one win in the tournament. Right now, a lot of the mock brackets have Cincinnati going to Dayton. I think a Utah State game's out there from a lot of different people. I don't think they could win that game. They would have a big crowd there. And then Houston opening in the 10, 11 seed range. I don't think they'd be favored. Nor would Wichita State. Wichita State was lucky to win last night.
Yeah, that's an intriguing group because, like you're saying, I mean, we've seen these teams at their best, and we've seen these teams at their worst, and that's the problem when you get in tournament play, is that you just can't have that worst part come out. But yeah, I think if you look up and down, kind of where all these teams are at, I still think, with Houston, and that's just because of Kelvin Sampson. I mean, we've seen it, and I know they've lost 2 or 3 here. I know they lost at Memphis, over the weekend and all of that. But it's still a team that I think, based on, they're so good on defense, and I think a team like that, we've seen what that could do for you when you're in a tournament. I mean, they're a team that doesn't have the same type of experience that they had, and that does worry me a little bit with them. But I don't know. I think just their style of play is something I would still probably look at and say, obviously what they've done in the conference this year, they're right up there, with the other 3 right now. But I don't know. That's probably the team you look at. But beyond that, like you're saying, it's really hard to look at any of these teams and say those are teams that you feel like could win multiple games and maybe have a chance to get to a Sweet 16.
Blake Lovell, our guest. Blake, when you watch the Memphis Tigers with the bad luck, with the tough break for James Wiseman, warts and all, what do you see with this Memphis Tigers team? Because we're at the point of the year that this is who you are.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is. And I think it's a team that just hasn't, and I say this because, we came into the year, thinking you're going to have James Wiseman the entire season. And for me, I mean, you felt like they were going to be a team that was going to be, pretty good on defense, and they have. I mean, let's give them credit for that. I mean, they've been you just look at the numbers. I mean, they've been a good defensive team. But I think we were looking at it saying, okay, well, this is going to be an offensive team that is just so exciting to watch, and you're not going to have the worries about, maybe having some of those stretches where you just feel like you can't score. But we've seen that, and I think that's something too, because their offensive numbers are so much different than their defensive numbers, and I don't think we really expected that with this team, and with the turnovers and stuff like that. And so it's just one of those things where we came into the season where they were at, after Christmas. We looked at it and said, okay, well, here you go. Now it's time to sort of prove yourself. And like you said, now we're to the point where now it is time. I mean, it was time to once you started conference play, but now we're at a point now where it's like this is where it's either make or break. And for this team, I just don't know. I mean, again, they're another one of those that the numbers defensively are really, really good. But, what if they wind up playing some of these teams that are just overpowering on offense? How does that work out? It's going to be fascinating to see how this regular season plays out.
Here's what I see in Houston. I think it's the least best of the last three Kelvin Sampson teams, and the two previous teams, Rob Gray 2 years ago and last year's team that was here in Memphis at the American Athletic Conference tournament. I was big going into the tournament, and they didn't make very much noise. Had the heartbreaker to Michigan with Rob Gray, and then last year out early. If those teams couldn't do much, I don't think this one will.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's fair because, and that's, it seems like we say that about a lot of these teams that are near the top of these conferences, not just the American, but some of these others, you make the same case for because that's what I'm saying. It's so fascinating to think about, that team last year for Houston wins, was it 33 games? And then you go back to that team before, like you said, the one that lost to Michigan. And really, in a game, you felt like that they should have won that game because it was such a good game. But yeah, it's I don't know. The American's a conference that I go back and forth on when you watch some of these games because you see the positives with teams like Tulsa that have done such a good job of sort of outplaying expectations this year, and you know what Wichita State's capable of. I mean, we've seen it over the years, even with teams maybe that we look at and say, okay, that they don't feel like they have that firepower of some of his previous teams. But yet, you get into the tournament, and as we always say every single year, it's about the matchups. And some of these teams, with the right matchups, you can see them winning games. But right now, just I think inconsistency is the main theme we've seen because there's just even the teams at the top have been able to, not been able to win some of these games against lower tier competition. And that just makes it sort of hard to predict, I think, this year's tournament.
You need to follow Blake Lovell on Twitter at @TheBlakeLovell. Last question for you, Blake. In the preseason, you would have won a lot of money, and with the boldest prediction of the college basketball year, if you'd have gone out there and said, North Carolina is going to finish dead last in the ACC.
I tell you, and it's so interesting to think about because, I actually talked to Roy Williams. We had him on the podcast before the season started. I want to say we had him. It was either September or early October. And you just kind of heard the way he talked. And I was like, man, he has got that. Like, it was like that swagger. Like, he was like, man, I've got a team. And you look, if they stay fully healthy, it's a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
But just, man, to see where they're at right now, I would have never in a million years been able to think that that's what we would be talking about with North Carolina sitting here at 11-17 on the season and just looking like a team that is nowhere near anything we've seen with the Tar Heels over the years.
I would have never had anybody back on that made that prediction.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have counted them as a serious
and
person.
I wouldn't blame you on that.
and then I would have had to call them at this point and apologize for why I hadn't had you on since October.
No, listen, I wouldn't blame you on that because if you'd have looked at this team, as we say, going into the year, all you can do is look at these teams on paper. And if you'd have looked on paper and said that North Carolina's going to have 11 wins end of February, yeah, I would have probably taken your credentials, and I don't even know if I have the authority to do that. So.
Blake, enjoy the weekend. Tournament start on Tuesday. We'll have brackets in front of it, eliminations, tears, happiness, tickets punched, and it'll be fun over these next few weeks. I said October and March are my favorite two sports months of the year, and it gets started soon, and we'll talk about it with you again next Thursday afternoon at our regular time. Thank you, Blake.
Sounds great, Brett. Thanks.
You got it. Have a great weekend. Blake Lovell with us, usually on Thursday, and today we appreciate him for accommodating us, and we'll have him back with us next Thursday. When we come back, we wrap up this day, we wrap up this week, and we do it with Taco Bell Crunch Time. Produced by Carl Morris. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
Eli Savoy gets you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Ben Swinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 125 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Ben Swinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Ben Swinger Glass in Midtown, located at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit their website, benswingerglass.com. Ben Swinger Glass.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry: Honda mowers, trimmers, and generators, Steel blowers, trimmers, and chainsaws, Echo trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws, plus quality products from Red Mat and Shindawa. And they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, we hit fame. We busy with the deal, we get insane.
Dave back on Monday. We'll all be here again on Monday. Drew will be back with us. Carl, great job. Really appreciate you today. Drew doing softball with Tyler Springs, and Dave on his way to New Orleans with the Tigers for what should be a fun weekend for Tiger fans and the Tiger official party going down there and getting that win over Tulane. If they don't. Just don't even talk about that. This weekend,
we're going to get the win. We're going to speak into existence. We're getting that win.
Going to get the win. That sets up a fun matchup with Wichita State. I'm looking forward to seeing them in person. Hadn't been knocked over by them. They hammered Ole Miss, and I watched most of that game in the AAC SEC Challenge, and then I watched them when they played the Tigers. But not many great performances that I've seen out of Wichita State this weekend. So the win over Tulane tomorrow night makes a fun late night next Thursday, 8 o'clock tip. And then the last regular season game of the year, a week from this Sunday afternoon, down at Houston. Tomorrow, Ole Miss and Vandy at 11:30 right here, tip at 12. Ole Miss baseball will follow that in against East Carolina, AAC, SEC baseball matchup there. And then on Sunday, Ole Miss baseball against Indiana, 10 o'clock pregame starting with Ole Miss baseball for that. David Kellum on the road for that. Eli Savoy tomorrow with Coach Mark Dukes doing the men's basketball game against Vanderbilt. Let's wrap up the week with Taco Bell Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is for all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Woo! Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. I learned today for sure the Pac-12 Coach of the Year, probably not National Coach of the Year, but Mick Cronin, what a job he's done at UCLA. I don't know what choice he was last year at UCLA, but he probably wasn't first. And he probably wasn't second, but they made a good hire in getting him after the flirtation with Jamie Dixon and Rick Barnes and maybe a few others. Thrilling win last night over Arizona State. UCLA's probably in the tournament, but if you'll remember earlier in the week I talked about, maybe even last week I talked about declaring we're back. For UCLA basketball, they're not declaring we're back with just getting into an NCAA tournament. They only hang banners at Pauley Pavilion in Westwood for winning it all. He's done it this year with limited talent for UCLA, for sure limited talent, in a really good league, and they had losses earlier in the season to Hofstra and Cal State Fullerton and to a bad North Carolina. North Carolina just hadn't been very good this year.
Not at all. Very shocking.
And hard to believe they're in last place in the ACC.
Like you just said, I would not believe if anybody would have came at the beginning of the season saying North Carolina's going to finish last in the ACC.
It's been the boldest proclamation ever. You couldn't have taken them seriously.
I would have taken that guy, whoever was to predict it, I would have taken them out every day for at least a month.
And you got to see how North Carolina will do in the ACC tournament. Only 3 seniors on this UCLA team. Only one key contributor out of those 3 seniors, Nick Cronin. He's got UCLA going in the right direction, but no declarations of UCLA being back. Could have done without. I mostly could do without the NFL Combine. Are you a Combine watcher fan?
No, I'm not.
Now, I'm not that into it. I do like the football talk, but not necessarily the 3-cone shuttle talk or the arm strength talk or even the 40-yard dash talk. When you know it can't be too much to it, and it can't mean too much at all, when the punter stole the show yesterday, the Arizona State punter with the bench press performance he put on. Punters don't even wear real uniforms in NFL games. And the main thing I want my punter doing is not bench pressing.
I want him kicking.
I want him, Carl, thank you very much. I want him kicking that football. That's the most important thing that he does
that's
every
what he's
Sunday.
Going to get paid to do.
That's all he's got to do. I've never seen him during a game break off to a weightlifting contest. Now, he'll be ahead of it if they do.
It's still not what he's. That's not his job. That's not his job.
That is not his job at all. We're going to keep a close eye on a lot tonight. Tonight with the Grizzlies in Sacramento. I asked that question way back. Most of the consensus was 2-1 for the weekend for the Hoop City teams. The 2 Grizzlies games tonight's game against Sacramento, tomorrow night's game against the Lakers and the Tigers in New Orleans. Tonight would be critical for it to be 2-1 for the Grizzlies to get that win against Sacramento, because I just don't think they can get the win tomorrow night, win or lose tonight.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, besides me being a Laker fan, I have to be a fan of the game, and they're not going to beat the Lakers tomorrow.
We know what a loss at Tulane, what these airwaves will sound like Monday, and what the conversation will be, because the honeymoon's over talk, well, we've already had that this year, and that happens to every coach. That's part of it. You eventually get past that stage and get down to having to get players and win ball games. But more criticism and heavy critics would come out with a loss at Tulane. I don't think that would happen. Only 2 losses there, as we've talked about, in this 21st century. But if there's a loss, it will be very noisy next week. A win?
Simply because we've only lost twice in these two decades.
And there's no comparison between the 2 programs, budgets, anything at all. And Tigers probably be a heavy favorite. It would set up a big game against Wichita State next Thursday night and keep the hope alive.
That's the game I'm looking forward to. I really want to play Tulsa again because I want them to get some type of revenge. You don't lose by 40, only scoring 40 points.
It does something to you to get doubled up 80-40, and that's the only game in the 2 years for Coach Hardaway where his team just really had that lackluster quitting effort.
They just quit.
They did.
Flat out quit.
They plain and simply did. But a win sets up next Thursday night against Wichita State Grizzlies, really all weekend tonight, and then tomorrow night at FedEx Forum. Going to keep an eye on the NFL rumors this weekend. Would this be the weekend that the news drops that Tom Brady is out of New England, out of the Patriots for officially?
Major shocker if that ever happens. If that happens.
Major shocker. It will be break into regular programming, which will be on there. It'll be breaking news whenever Tom Brady makes that decision, if he decides to leave. I got to see it to believe it.
That makes 2 of us. We will most definitely have to see that to believe it.
I mean, just how foreign he will look in that other uniform. I know we'll get used to it. We got used to Brett Favre as a Jet. And we sure got used to Brett Favre as a Viking.
But I'm saying it's just I don't see him leaving the Patriots. Like, he was a key piece of building that franchise.
He was it.
So My only way of seeing him leaving the organization is if he's leaving the whole league, the entire league is retiring. I can't see him in a different uniform. I don't know how it will work.
It'll be stunning.
It's Tom Brady. I'm pretty sure it will work pretty good, especially with Tennessee, how you guys broke it down earlier. I can see that happening, but it would be hard for me to look. It'll be a hard pill to swallow knowing that he's not in the Patriots uniform.
We've got a scoreboard watch from the Grizzlies front. Watch what New Orleans doing all weekend. Portland doing. Sacramento starts it tonight. Then they have home games. They have a home game against Detroit, and what San Antonio will be doing all weekend. College basketball, we talked about North Carolina trying to stay out of the cellar in the ACC. The AAC schedule and SEC schedule is real good this weekend. The big one in the SEC, it's tomorrow afternoon on CBS with Bruce Pearl going up against John Calipari at Rupp Arena.
Classic matchup.
Classic matchup. No love lost. They can't stand each other. It goes deep. It's real. It's not put on. It's not studio wrestling.
I'll be tuned in.
Who you for?
I'm just for a good game.
Yeah,
between those
I'm
two,
the same
I'm just
way.
for a good game.
I really have no preference between either one of those in that game. I do think Bruce Pearl kind of has. Sometimes he has John Calipari's number.
I don't think he'll get it in Rupp.
There's always that coach that's under another one's craw, and I think John Calipari has a little bit with Bruce Pearl doing that. Carl, again, great job today. We want everybody to be back with us on Monday. Dave will be back in here at 3 o'clock. Drew will be back in here at 3 o'clock on Monday. For Dave and Drew in their absence, and for Carl, I'm Brett. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. I hope I see you tonight at FedEx Forum, tomorrow night at FedEx Forum, or tomorrow afternoon in Oxford. Good night, everyone. Have a great weekend.
One thing I really admire about Central Barbecue is their commitment to quality.
Then why do they let you do their commercials?
I'm talking about their food. Everything is prepared with devotion to taking the time and effort to create perfect barbecue.
Oh, I know. That's exactly why I was wondering why